Yeah. Yeah.
Your buddy Jack, yeah.
He sent me a nice letter.
I think you told me that.
I measured words. That's how I.
It is.
Standing
Lee Lane. 21. Not so much Smith Village. Not so much Saxon Pond. Those two items mainly. Those two items.
Yep. No, that's.
That name sounds
Yeah.
familiar.
Yeah.
But online, when I just put in emails.
They act like pastor of church.
Oh, are you not able to get in?
Well, yeah. Or I should have like George or Greg
They
should
probably
go
didn't
up and
log
down
on
the
to
aisle
the
saying
computer.
one here, one there.
Kathy's having, I think, the same issue. Richard Beavers on her computer. Is that what happened with? Oh, that's not what happened with Brad.
No, but she's got to log out.
The November 13th meeting of the Eden Prairie City Council will now come to order. I'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Prior to the start of each of our council meetings, our meetings are generally the first and third Tuesdays of the month, we have an opportunity for residents to address the council on issues of city business from approximately 6:30 to 6:55. I'm sorry. If you want to speak to us at that time, please contact the city manager's office at 949-8412 by noon of the meeting date with your name, the subject matter you wish to discuss, and your phone number. If we have additional time after that, then I will open the floor to anybody that's here that wants to address us on an issue not on the agenda that evening. I did that tonight, and there were no takers for open podium, but often we have several people, so it's a good idea to call ahead. I just wanted to, before we get started on the meeting, mention that I would like to extend congratulations to all of the newly elected officials that are representing the residents of Eden Prairie. I wish them all the best and a lot of success. I'd like to congratulate Mark Freiberg, who won one of the positions for City Council and will be joining us, well, he won't be joining me, but I'm retiring, but he will be joining the rest of the council in January. And Councilmember Kathy Nelson, who is reelected to her position. I'd also like to point out that we had a mayor's race. Council members Ron Case and Brad Aho both ran for mayor. We were really lucky. Either one would have been a fabulous mayor. The whole campaign for all of these city-related positions was very civil and wonderful, and we really appreciate that. Mr. Case did win the position of mayor, but we're very lucky in that you still have 2 years left on this term, and you are going to continue on the city council. So thank you, Brad. I'd like to give a round of congratulations to everybody. The next thing is, I don't know how many of you love to attend city council meetings and have paid a lot of attention to agendas, but this is probably one of the most full agendas that we've had in the last 6 years or so, maybe even 10 years. We have a lot of things on our agenda tonight. We have, well, for one thing, we had 532 pages to go through in our electronic packet, plus a stack of documents. We have 4 proclamations and presentations tonight, 6 public hearings, 6 ordinances and resolutions to go through. So we have kind of stacked the agenda to deal with the people that we anticipate having the biggest crowd here for the issue so that people can get out and get back to their homes this evening. But I will probably be restricting the amount of time that people can present at open podium to probably 3 minutes and maybe occasionally 5 minutes. But we have a lot of people that want to speak. We have a lot of issues to get through tonight, and we're not going to be here at midnight, right? So, the first proclamation that we have tonight is the Sustainable Eden Prairie Awards. And who is Mr. Getchell? Are you doing those?
Mayor, I'm not. I'm handing this off to Carol Lundgren and I believe Beth Novak Krebs of our city staff here, sustainability technician and city planner, senior planner.
So good evening. My name is Carol Lundgren. I'm the Sustainability Specialist for the city. This is the second year that we are presenting the Sustainable Eden Prairie Award. The award recognizes significant and innovative investments that contribute to the overall vitality and sustainability of our community. The award program is coordinated once a year in the fall. The 4 award nomination categories reflect the sustainability focus areas in energy, landscape, waste, and water. Eligibility criteria includes property improvements and organized programming and initiatives so that both physical improvements and behavioral changes can be recognized. This year's nominations were accepted from July through the end of August, and nominee applications for the awards were reviewed by city staff and then presented to the Conservation Commission, where they provided nominee recommendations. We are honoring 4 award recipients tonight, and the Conservation Commissioners are here to help us with the award presentations. So with that, I'd like to invite up Lori Tritz to introduce our first Sustainable Eden Prairie Award recipient in the water category.
Good evening. My name is Lori Tritz, and it is my 5th year serving on the Conservation Commission. Our first recipient tonight is Eon for Ocean, who is being recognized in the water category. Eon for Ocean is a nonprofit organization dedicated to educate and increase awareness about ocean conservation and marine life amongst kids, and engage them to take a greater role in spreading the message to drive action. The founder of Eon for Ocean is an 8-year-old Eden Prairie resident named Eon Bashir, who has dedicated much of his personal time to public education and outreach on the connection between fresh water and the ocean health. This includes leading waste cleanup events at Lake Riley and presenting to schools on sustainability practices. So would the representative from Eon for Ocean please come up to accept your reward?
Next, I'd like to invite Anna Anderson to introduce our recipient in the energy category.
Hi, good evening. My name is Anna Anderson, and this is my 2nd year serving on the Conservation Commission. Our second award recipient tonight is Elam Shores Independent and Assisted Living, who is being recognized in the category of energy. Elam Shores has made significant improvements to retrofit their 28-year-old building to become energy efficient. This includes, but is not limited to, a complete LED light retrofit and installing Energy Star approved wall air conditioning units for their 70 residents. Elam Shores is also recognized as a U.S. Environmental Protection Agency Energy Star certified building, and on average, these buildings use 35% fewer greenhouse gas emissions than their peers. They are the 5th senior housing community in Minnesota to receive this certification. Would the representatives from Elam Shores Independent and Assisted Living please come up and accept your award?
The last category is waste. We have 2 recipients in waste this year, as we did not have a nominee in landscape. So I'd like to invite up Riya Sharma.
Good evening. My name is Riya Sharma, and this is my 1st year serving on the Conservation Commission as a student member. Tonight, we are recognizing Jean Espenson in the waste category. The Environmental Protection Agency estimates each person generates 4.4 pounds of waste per day. Jean Espenson has made a concerted and remarkable effort to reduce the amount of waste her family generates. She does this through several sustainable practices, including but not limited to bulk shopping, using refillable water bottles, shopping with reusable shopping bags, registering for online newspapers, and more. Reduction and reuse of materials are the most effective way to save natural resources, protect the environment, and save money. Would Jean Espenson please come up and accept your award?
Next, I'd like to invite up Cindy Hoffman to introduce our final recipient in waste.
Good evening. My name is Cindy Hoffman, and I'm in my first year serving the Conservation Commission. The final recipient we are recognizing tonight is the Prop Shop in the waste category. The most effective way to reduce waste is not to create it. The Prop Shop is a nonprofit organization serving local families. The Prop Shop resale store serves our community by diverting waste from landfills through accepting donated clothing, household items, books, and furniture for resale. They have accepted over 104,000 bags of donated items. Benefits of reducing waste and reusing items prevents pollution, reduces greenhouse gas emissions, saves energy, and sustains our environment for future generations. Would the representative from the Prop Shop please come up and accept your award?
So congratulations to all of our award recipients, and thank you to our conservation commissioners who were able to attend tonight for the award presentation. We'll be having a small reception for all the award winners and the commissioners downstairs in the atrium. And if all the award winners could also wait outside for a group picture too, that'd be great. So,
Thank you very much. Congratulations again to the award winners. I hope that you realize that this is an annual event that we are trying to do, and that you will report on your neighbors and businesses that you know that are doing a particularly notable job when it comes to sustainability. And the nomination period is generally, is it July and August of next summer? So please keep this in mind. Thank you. Congratulations to everybody. Today we have a few donations to accept. The first one is the donations for the Halloween at the Mall event. Mr. Lathammer.
Yes, Your Honor, council members, if you were at the mall on Halloween, you'd have been surrounded by thousands of costume trick-or-treaters, annual events, and it's helped made possible by two contributions. One is from the Eden Prairie Crime Fund, $750, and also from the Optimist Club at $400. So we really appreciate all that they do to help us out with that program.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
I would move to adopt the resolution accepting the donation of $1,150 from the Eden Prairie Crime Fund, $750, and the Optimist Club of Eden Prairie, $400 toward the Halloween on the Mall event.
Second. All in favor? Aye. The motion passes. The next item is a donation from Seniors Helping Seniors.
Yes, Your Honor. That organization gave $250 towards our senior fall lunch. So approximately 80 people attended that event, and that brings seniors together once a year, and we do appreciate their help. Keeps the price lower for the seniors that are attending that event.
Is there a motion?
Move to adopt the resolution accepting the donation of $250 from Seniors Helping Seniors to go towards the Senior Center Fall Lunch.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. The next item is a proclamation regarding Interfaith Understanding Day. The Interfaith Circle requested that the mayor and city council members declare Saturday, November 17th, 2018, Interfaith Understanding Day in honor of their 11th anniversary of the Eden Prairie Human Rights Award-winning Thanksgiving celebration. On this day, citizens are urged to work toward greater understanding of each other's spiritual traditions and continue to make Eden Prairie a place of mutual acceptance and peace. So I have a declaration that I'd like to read today. Whereas Eden Prairie businesses, city government, educational, and religious institutions have committed to accepting special roles and responsibilities in fostering diversity in our community. And whereas these bodies are dedicated to upholding the rights of every individual in our community to freedom, dignity, and security, regardless of religious affiliation, race, ethnic heritage, gender, age, sexual orientation, physical or mental ability, or economic status. And whereas Eden Prairie leaders must regularly renew their visionary commitment to these principles. And whereas citizens of Eden Prairie and beyond have founded the Interfaith Circle in support of these community standards and values. And whereas these leaders from diverse religious backgrounds continue to generate an annual gathering of our commonly held celebration of Thanksgiving Day that celebrates our growing religious diversity and fosters respect for others. And whereas mutual understanding fosters peace in our homes, our schools, and our city, now therefore I, Nancy Tira Lukens, Mayor of the City of Eden Prairie, Minnesota, do hereby proclaim November 17th, 2018 as Interfaith Understanding Day in the City of Eden Prairie, and urge all citizens to work toward greater understanding of each other's spiritual traditions and continue to make Eden Prairie a place of mutual acceptance and peace. Is the group from Interfaith Understanding here tonight? I don't see anyone, because I would give you the proclamation, but we will do that at some other time. Is there a motion?
There's no
Oh,
motion
there's no
for
motion.
that.
Okay. All right, is there a motion for the approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any items to add or delete? All in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes. I'm looking for a motion for approval of the minutes from the City Council workshop held on Tuesday, October 16th, 2018.
Move approval?
Second.
Any items to correct? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the City Council meeting held that same date?
So moved.
Second.
Anything to correct there?
No.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes. Consent calendar, is there a motion for approval?
Move approval of the consent items A through J on the consent calendar?
Second.
Mr. Getchell?
Yes, I want to note that the earlier edition of the packet had an IT item that was removed. So initially the packet went out through item K. It was edited to item J tonight, so that'll come back at a future date, but I just want to note that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes. That brings us to our first of 6 public hearings, Eden Bluff, 4th edition. C.H. Robinson, Mr. Getchell.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. In 2006, so a ways back, a planned unit development was approved at the C.H. Robinson campus for what would be known as phases 2 through 4 of the C.H. Robinson development, which includes this property. That approved site plan included a 1-story, just under 82,000 square foot L-shaped building with 614 parking stalls. The plan also included access via 2 driveways onto Leatrice Lane and a shared driveway with the existing C.H. Robinson building to the east. C.H. Robinson has updated that plan, and they've expressed the need for additional employee parking, and that spurred the updated site plan application. The current application now includes a construction of that surface parking lot. I believe it's in the neighborhood of 700 some spots. And then the construction of, in the future, of a 120,000 square foot 2-story office building under a phased development plan. I do know that the applicant is here to provide a presentation, so I don't want to go into too much detail about the development. The applicant can do that, and then staff and the applicant can answer any questions that you have, and then you can hold the public hearing.
Okay, thank you. Is the applicant here? Yes. Yes, okay.
Good evening. My name is Brian Hennon. I am the manager of procurement and real estate at C.H. Robinson. Today we're here to outline possible future C.H. Robinson plans, and we look for your approval to move forward. Though we continue to grow as an organization, we have worked internally to delay any need for the 4th office building. Our imminent need is for parking, as mentioned, as we are full on campus right now. There's currently no timetable for this building to be built. I've hosted 2 meetings with the Hennepin Village neighborhood, the first one in August of 2017, and the second recently on October 4th, 2018. I also held a meeting in December of 2017 with some of the Hennepin Village board members. We've listened to all the feedback and we have done our best to compromise. Paul Holmes from Pope Architect will now walk you through where we were 15 months ago and where we're at today.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I'm Paul Holmes. I'm with Pope Architects. We've been fortunate enough to work with C.H. Robinson for the last 15 years or so on their campus. I had sent a PowerPoint over, and I'm just wondering if it's loaded and available.
Yes. It's loaded, Katie? Okay.
Great, thank you. This is the master plan that represents the PUD as it was passed in 2006. The northwest corner being the site in question, that's the 81,900 square foot L-shaped building with 614 parking spaces. You can see the other buildings that have since been built. There was two entrances out into Leatrice and one out to Charleston on that plan. Back in 2017, I'm hoping this advances. That helps. Back in 2017, we were, actually in 2016, we were asked by C.H. Robinson to begin the process of looking at that site to see if it would be possible to build surface parking that could support their densification of their existing buildings and ward off the need to build another building. In order to accomplish that, we took the 82,000 square foot single-story building and began to stack it. We came back with a plan that would be a 3-story building. This plan that was about a 40,000 square foot building, 3 stories high. We took this to a neighborhood meeting and did receive some significant pushback, both on the height of the building as well as concerns about traffic that were there. And so we went back to the drawing board. Oh, and about, I mentioned height. This is the height of that 3-story building. It was about 42 feet. We went back and came back with a 2-story building, and that's what we have today that we're seeking approval for. It is a 80,000 square foot 2-story building, expandable in a subsequent phase to 120,000 square feet, so it adds another 20,000 square feet per floor. It affords the opportunity for C.H. Robinson to build 175 surface parking spaces initially, provided the variance is granted that allows surface parking to be constructed on the lot without the building. And that in turn allows them to forestall the building of the new building, which is the point. This has been modified both by feedback from the neighborhood and by the results of the traffic study. The traffic study specifically suggested that one of the 2 exits out onto Leatrice be eliminated and that the second become right out only, and we've made that adjustment. It also recommended that the shared drive out into Charleston have 2 exits out, one dedicated left turn, one dedicated right turn, and we've added that exit as well. So trying to make those traffic modifications with regard to the traffic study. After the Planning Commission meeting the other evening, we also went back and added the sustainable features to the site, including dedicated carpool parking, dedicated parking for electric cars, and the pedestrian connections that are there as well, and that are there as well. These are elevations of the building. The image above is in its first phase. The longer image below shows the second phase of the building when more room is added. This is a section through the site showing the townhomes to the south and the building to the north. The townhomes, the finished floor elevation at the lower level of the townhomes is about 865. Our building is about 12 feet lower than that for first floor. And the main living level of the townhomes would be roughly 9 or 10 feet above. So in a single-story configuration, a great deal of roof would have been visible. And in that way, we think that there is an advantage here because we're compressing the building area and allowing less view of roof, more view of building, and more view past it as well. The landscape plan, this is grading and utilities, has been submitted. I won't go into detail on this, but I can answer questions if you have them as we move forward. This is the planning plan. For the first phase that provides screening from the townhomes, there was a planting plan that was approved in 2006. Westwood, our civil engineer on this, went in and did a tree inventory to confirm which of those plantings had survived since 2006, and then put together a phase 1 planting plan that would plant this is the phase 1 parking. It plants a screen around the parking, but then at the same time plants screening materials that now will have time to grow between the present time and when that building is eventually built to provide better screening. So those are happening along the southern border there. As I think the city report points out, there are more trees being planted than were previously approved and more trees being planted than are required. Part of that strategy is just to ensure survivability, plant a few extra trees in order to make that happen.
Quick question on that. Is there a lot of evergreen type trees in there as well?
There is, yes. I have specific counts, but they're about half evergreen, I believe, and half deciduous trees. All right, thank you. This is the phase 2 landscape plan that you see fills in the trees on all the parking islands and the shrubs, and then creates a screen against liatris as well. That's the information we have. I should say that there was considerable conversation about traffic and safety in the Planning Commission meeting, and we had relied on a traffic study. One of the pushbacks and concerns that had been expressed was that the data for the traffic study was taken in August of 2017, a month when many are on vacation. I talked with the traffic engineer, and they had not made specific adjustment for that because this project is not necessarily near a school building, and they would otherwise make adjustment. But we don't think that it's unreasonable to have to renew the traffic study prior to a building permit being pulled, particularly in light of the fact that that may be years down the road. And there may be things that can reasonably be done in addition to what we're already doing to limit the effect of traffic. So glad to answer questions you may have.
Any questions? Councilmember Nelson.
Your main parking lot goes out into Charleston, it looks like, from the overview. Is that correct?
There's one exit out onto Liatris and one from Charleston, and then onto Charleston, and then the other one would go back to the south to the intersection when you first come off Flying Crowd Drive and make a left there off Charleston.
Why not put the access to the parking lots both on Charleston? One is down past the curve and the other would be straight, instead of just going out a few feet from the, I assume there's a stop sign there, maybe there isn't, I didn't drive it. But you wouldn't be that far, but you wouldn't be going on to Liatris, you'd just be going out into Charleston where the cars are going to dump out onto almost immediately anyway. So why is there some, dip in the ground there, or why Liatris instead of just the second Charleston?
Yeah. Councilmember, we met with city staff about this and looked at the possibility of putting 2 exits off Charleston. We could not create a second entrance to Charleston that was far enough from the Liatris-Charleston intersection not to cause a safety problem.
All right.
And so that's why we retained that one exit out into Liatris.
Okay. Any other questions at this point?
Okay. Well, just one more question. So you're adding approximately 607 parking spaces, is that correct?
In the initial phase, we're adding 175. When the building is built, I want to give you specific numbers, Council Member. We're adding 175. When the building is built, there will be an additional 607.
So for a total of
782.
Okay.
And then if the building were expanded, we actually lose 65 parking spaces and go down to 717, which is about 103 more than were originally proposed.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or questions for staff? Okay, I have one question for staff. So all the proponent is planning to do at this point is add the 175 stalls onto the property that does not have a building. But in order to do this, because it's part of a PUD, I assume, they have to bring forth the whole plan for that parcel of land. When they get to the point that they want to build the new building there, will if they make any change from what's approved tonight, they would have to come through the whole process again, right? So if they asked for 2 entrances onto Leatris, which is what they were originally granted back in 2003 or whatever, 2006, then it would have to come back, correct?
Your Honor, council members, we would look at our code with regard to minor amendments and major amendments with regard to the process, but you would certainly see something at the council. Depending upon how minor it would be, it might skip planning commission,
Okay.
But you would see a change at the council.
And the neighbors would again be notified of changes?
Do believe generally we would. Again, if it's a very minor amendment, we wouldn't necessarily do notices, but something that would affect circulation, I would think would rise to that level. The city planner is here if she wants to chime in with any additional specifics, but there is a hierarchy kind of how the amendments are treated with regard to the process.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor, members of the council, Ms. Jeremiah is correct. There's a minor amendment process, but even that would require public hearing notification to the neighbors and a public hearing at the city council.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone from the audience that wants to address the council on this issue? And if you'd give your name and your address for the record, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
I hope you have all these handouts.
Okay. I think we've all received these. Many, many, many copies of these. Here, why don't you give them to me and I'll distribute them so you can get started. Thank you. We just need 3. Thank you.
Honorable Mayor and council members, I would like to raise concerns.
Could you give your name and address, please, for the record?
Yeah, my name is Gnaneshwar Kacham, and my address is 15184 Plumstone Drive, Eden Prairie.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I would like to explain my concerns about this expansion. Our main concern, the number one concern, is having exit on the Leatris Lane. It is going to affect our privacy and security, and as well as lot of traffic. I have provided photographs where our children get into the bus. Exactly there, they are planning, like company is planning for the exit. And right now we are seeing like lot of, after another building recently built, we are seeing lot of crowd is coming into our neighborhood. That is what we are witnessing. In the afternoons, you can see in our neighborhood in the summer, lot of crowd is there. And this, like once we have the exit on the Leatris Lane, it can be like dangerous to our kids, and as well as the traffic can flow through our community. That will be high concern for us. And as well as there is a blind spot. Madam Kathy said that there is a stop, and after that there is a big blind spot. Always we are scared of that one blind spot, and we ask for any like stoplight or something, because of, without even C.H. Robinson traffic. Now it will be, if C.H. Robinson's traffic comes into Leatris Lane, we will be having lot of traffic there, like as the company was saying, like 600 more cars will be coming into Leatris Lane. That will affect us. That is the major concern for us. The second one I wanted to explain is the second one is we want to request city and company to have a invisible fence. It will, like anybody who is parked the car, they cannot come into our neighborhood. That is what we want for our security, and we want a fence. Like fence should be built along with the Leatris Lane. That is our humble request. The third one is in 2006 there was like as just now it was presented. It was like 80,000 square feet, and any anyway, like we are facing a lot of traffic issues. We are going to face traffic issues on Charleston Road and our neighborhood. If they stick to the original plan and original expansion, we will be very happy. That will be our main concern. And
Could you let us know what are the times of day when you have the major traffic concerns?
in the morning, we will be going out of the community.
Like what time?
7 to 9.
Okay.
7 to 9, we'll be going out of the community, and at 7:30, one bus will come for. At 7:30, one bus will come for picking up the kids. 8:15, till 8:40, 7 to 8:40, the school buses will be coming into our community.
Okay.
And in the evening at 3 o'clock, 3 to 5, 3 to 4:30, I think, 3 to 4:30, 3 or 4 buses will be coming. And right now, in summer, our kids are freely enjoying the neighborhood, and they are going for cycling and walking and running, whatever we can do as a neighbors and residents. We are doing that one. If the traffic coming into Leatrice Lane, definitely it is going to obstruct, and we are going to have that kind of safety issues. Already in Plumstone Drive, it is not cul-de-sac. Whenever my kids are playing on the Plumstone Drive, I live on Plumstone Drive. When my kids are playing on Plumstone Drive, always I have a tension that some car might hit. Okay.
I'm sorry, I need to cut you off because we've got other speakers.
Yep.
Can you wrap it up?
Yep.
Thank you.
If what we do is our neighbors, we will drive our car very carefully, but whenever some stranger is coming through our street, we can see the difference. They may not care because that is not their neighborhood, or they may not be careful. Sometimes if it is not neighborhood, I don't know how to explain, but that is our safety concern. So I have provided our photographs, all the photographs, and in the short period, we 151 people signed, and I have given that booklet to everybody.
Yep, thank you.
And so many people, not only that 151 people, everybody in that neighborhood, they don't want any traffic coming into Leatrice Lane, and we want a fence.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else that wants to address
Thank
the
you very
council?
much.
Thank you. Yes, if you'd like to come forward.
You would never go that way.
Oh, I'm sorry. That gentleman, yeah, you can be next. Not to worry, don't go far.
Good evening. My name is Benjamin Thomas. I live at 9985 Wildflower Drive.
Okay.
I really only have one question. I talked to our Master Association in Hennepin Village, and I think they've done a great job working with C.H. Robinson. My concern is about human nature. I'm an Episcopal priest, and I know people will always sort of do what they can to get around things. It says that there's an exit only onto Leatrice. What are we going to do to make sure that that stays an exit only? Because if it becomes that it's only supposed to be exit only and there's a sort of back way through the neighborhood, people will use it if there are 600 cars going through there. That's just human nature. Is there a median that's going to go into Leatrice? Is there some way that we make it physically difficult or impossible for people to turn left into the neighborhood or to turn right into the parking lot moving north on Leatrice? That's my question.
Okay, thank you. I don't know that there is now, but it could be added. Next speaker.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council members. So my name is Ram Gajwada.
Thank you.
I live in Plumstone Drive, 15354 Plumstone Drive. So again, I'm not going to take your time to reiterate the concerns what my friend has said, another member over here said. I'm in the neighborhood from past 11 years. So I understand the expansion was approved in 2006. One thing to be noticed, in the last 11 years, the amount of development from residential point of view. So right now we have about 700 plus residents in that community compared to what we have here in 200, 300 in 2006. So all my request is, I'm not objecting, or again, I'm no one to object, but I'm not raising my concern that approval should not be given for expansion. But when you give approval, do consider things have changed, right? 2006, 2018, right? Many things have changed. So only two requests from us was, number one, if you can stick to the initial approval of 80,000 square feet. Number two, the exit. I know everyone talk about the exit. I really want to show a video. I don't know if there's a chance, but you guys should see the video, how the exit is over there. I know the applicant has demonstrated a few slides which are very specific to their expansion, which was not showing you the entire community. So the lane going on Leatrice, the lane going Plumstone Drive, the lane going Charleston are very close by. So our request, I'm sure everyone from the community have only three concerns. Number one is safety for children. Number two, the traffic amount goes on with, yes, I think you've been giving awards for what, conservation, right? Now you are introducing privacy is one. Again, privacy is a second factor, but main thing is you introduce traffic to a residential area, right? So now you're not giving you an opportunity for our residents to grow our family, bring our new neighbors. No, right? Just imagine. I mean, will you be going to a community where there is thousands of cars going in the morning and evening? I don't think any new neighbor is going to take that. So all our request is, when you're approving this request, do consider the residential area nearby, which has increased from 2006 to 2018. So things have changed, so even your approval has to be revisited, reconsider. So that's all was done.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hello, my name is Felix Lenikov, Crabapple 15580 Crabapple Lane. I live on the other side of the association, so I wanted to second previous speaker about the traffic signs on the Charleston Road, because stop signs, they are not helping, and there is traffic not only during morning and evening, but also lunch hours. And there is also a backup on the Spring Road going down in the morning hours, because everyone has to turn left, but then again, there is first they blocking the traffic on the Spring Road, and then again exit from the Charleston Road, ongoing traffic nonstop.
Okay,
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. One more person, okay.
Hi, my name is Keith Jung. I live at 15503 June Grass Lane. I was just wondering, has it been considered a possibility to take the traffic off of Flying Cloud? I realize from an elevation topography standpoint that it would be a little bit of a challenge, but at least if you could take it around the back and create maybe a private avenue or street in the back, that would relieve everything on Charleston and Leatrice and just bring it around where there's a major highway to begin with. That's my question.
I'm not following that. Did somebody, Robert, do you get that?
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
Madam Mayor, City Council, I think what the resident is referring to is the conservation area that's on the back side of the C.H. Robinson property and Hennepin Village would provide, if there wasn't a conservation easement and some topographical issues, a way to do a back access in. I'm not sure from an engineering standpoint how feasible that would be, and I do know that that property is held in some type of a conservation trust, so there'd be some legal hoops to that as well.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Okay.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes? And then you're second. Just have a seat in front there, and he'll go first.
Honorable Mayor and members of the council.
Could you speak up a little?
Sure.
Can't hear you.
All right. I'm Roop Aladi. I live on 10007 Junction Drive. My main concern, and from all the conversations we had between us, was around the sewage and the water flowing from the building across. I was told that it was flowing into, I wasn't sure whether it was flowing into the small lakes between that or backside of the conservation area. So we wanted to find out exactly, I mean, we weren't given the details around it, or it wasn't discussed in the plan here.
Okay.
Just wanted to find out if that's a major concern as well, and we wanted more details on that. If that's going to be a problem, yes, it is for us. So
Okay.
hopefully that's my concern.
Okay, thank you. Robert, would you like to address that?
Certainly, Madam Mayor, City Council. It was looked at as part of the development application. I know there's an existing pond that's on the south side of the proposed development that was sized with the initial development to handle the proposed runoff from this site. I believe there's some on-site storage that they're doing in the parking lot as well, so that will supplement the existing pond that's there. But we have reviewed the calculations for the drainage runoff, and it does meet all city standards, and they'll also have to receive watershed district permit as well. They'll review it as
Just a point on top of that, we've been having a lot of mosquitoes issues over summer, and we were just concerned because of this we have to face more. So just in case if we probably have something around it, that'd be great. Just some kind of a suggestion or something like that. We don't really know what's taken around that, but we wanted to just point it out because we don't exactly know what actually happens when water flows into those kind of ponds, and we don't even really care about what it's just the after effects we're talking about.
Okay. I'm not sure. Does anybody on the staff have an answer for that?
we could contact mosquito control
That's
to
what I was
see if they could
thinking.
add this to their list of hot spots they monitor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Good evening. This is Vijay Ravella. Lives on 15099 Plumstone Drive. Right across Beatrice and opposite to C.H. Robinson proposed property. My concern here is like I'm deeply concerned about the Beatrice exit. It's not only exit; it's entrance for them. So the problem is like I witness every day 5 different school buses stop in front of my home, and one Southwest transit bus, one time in the morning and 2 times in the evening. I take personally the Southwest transit bus to go downtown, just to avoid myself the wait on the Beatrice Charleston. So I have to take left turn, so I have to wait all the traffic moves on the Charleston to take my left turn. So this is today's situation. If you add 700 cars coming towards Beatrice in the peak morning office hours, I can't imagine the situation. And at the same time, 5 different school buses and 1 Southwest transit bus. Hardly we need 5 cars to block the Beatrice and Charleston. We don't need any traffic study. If you park 5 cars, that's it. The Beatrice is done. We cannot move out at all, because the Charleston is we have a stop sign from Beatrice to Charleston, so the Charleston has priority. So all the cars move from on Charleston, so we cannot go out at all, and it blocks Plumstone, and it will block the C.H. Robinson entrance too. So where people has to go, how people can go out of Hennepin Village is a concern to me.
Okay, and what time is the problem time that you're encountering?
Yeah, the school bus starts 7:30 in the morning, and it's there up to 8:30. So my 2 daughters get into the bus at 8:30, and my Southwest Transit bus comes at 7:30. I have pictures. We have submitted the evidences.
And those buses are using Beatrice?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
okay.
I mean, we're deeply concerned about the entrance there. And the second concern I have personally is the lights, like the car lights that will directly fall on my home.
He's saying that they can't. There's not room to go out here if you're going to turn.
So I request city and the C.H. Robinson to have a screen that blocks the light and the smoke.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. If you want to come up, please, quickly.
My name is Rama Tamanedi. I'm from 15542 Lilac Drive. I think I'm repeating the same thing which my other friends have spoken to you, but I'm here to tell one more thing. It's my life dream to buy a home in a quiet neighborhood and raise a quiet family and peaceful family. And I'm here in Hennepin Village after a lot of research and after going through a lot. And now I hear that there's business expansions and all. When I bought, there's nothing like this. So all I'm requesting is, as a mother of 3 kids, and there are a lot of people like me who has a lot more kids. So we all need a quiet neighborhood and a safety neighborhood. And I believe this expansion is going to create a lot of pollution, traffic, and the safety issue for our kids. As a mom, I completely object it. And I think everybody in the community are doing it. And when I was talking to a couple of my neighbors and other people, they clearly stated that they doesn't know the impact of this. So as a mother, I cannot accept this. I need a safety environment for my kids.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
All right, is that it for the public hearing? Let's have a motion to close the public hearing.
Yep, I would move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Questions or comments? Questions of staff or of the proponent? I think it would be helpful if one of our staff members could give us an overview of the development on this property, because originally, when this was brought to the City Council, there was office all along Charleston. There was no Plumstone Drive that was residential. It was all office. So this is actually what we're seeing today, a great reduction in the amount of office in that area. The roads were built, I assume, with the idea that all of that would be developed into office and there'd be some residential there, but please, if somebody could go through that, that would be helpful.
Your Honor, council members, yes, this area was always proposed for office, and there has been, my understanding, some overall reduction with regard to the greater area. However, with regard to this particular property, the 2006 approval included 81,900 square feet of building size, so this phase 2 is a little bit less than that at the 80,000 square feet, but the future expansion of the 40,000 square feet would be an overall increase for this particular piece of the commercial property. Some of the other changes are with regard to the building height and the shape. So it's been a little more consolidated rather than an L shape. It's been consolidated in area, but it's 2 stories. And you saw the elevations. That was something that staff considered with regard to that change and the sometimes unattractiveness of looking at the roof. Mm-hmm. But of course, there are different opinions about that. We understand that. Also, in the original approval, there were actually 2 access points on Leatrice Lane, so that's down to 1. And the difference in overall parking spaces is about 103 additional spaces compared to the original approval when you look at the overall built-out phase, again, of this property. So I hope that helps answer your questions.
And Mr. Ellis, could you talk a little bit about the way the roads in that area were built and to what capacity we were anticipating?
Yep. So, Madam Mayor, City Council, to address some of the traffic questions that have come up tonight and in the past, I might start first with the discussion about no Leatrice access and moving those both to Charleston. The applicant did mention that was looked at, and that raises a lot of concerns from the impact to Charleston and to Leatrice with a new access location located between Leatrice and the existing access location. Leaves about 250 feet between intersections, and with the volume of traffic, we could easily see eastbound right turners backing up through Leatrice, so that would impact that intersection most certainly. And then also with westbound left turners trying to access the site at this new proposed location, I could see that backing up into the existing access to the site. So we didn't feel from a traffic operation standpoint that that would work for this site or quite frankly for Hennepin Village and the impacts to Leatrice Lane with the volume of traffic that's being proposed. The idea of a median being installed on Leatrice to ensure that C.H. Robinson employees are doing a right out and a left in and not circumventing the desire of the council and the city to not have office traffic driving on Plumstone, I think would be a good idea. I think that would be a condition the council should consider. I think it would provide some assurance to the neighborhood that there wouldn't be that cut-through traffic using Plumstone. And then the third issue about the bus drop-off pickup area on Leatrice Lane just north of Plumstone. Please note that the proposed access location for C.H. Robinson is about 100 feet north of the north side of Plumstone. So that would provide plenty of room for a bus or two to drop off and pick up without interfering with traffic that would be utilizing the C.H. Robinson access on Leatrice Lane. So I think those things could work in tandem with the room that's being provided. And the overall question about capacity of the roadway network. The traffic analysis did evaluate Charleston Road from Flying Cloud Drive to Spring Road and all the driveways and intersections in between, and found that everything operated at an acceptable level of service without unnecessary burden on queuing or delay for the intersection. And so it did meet all the standards that we require of any new development in Eden Prairie without necessitating any improvements. There was talk about perhaps monitoring the existing driveway on the east side of C.H. Robinson's property, kind of away from this site, for the possible need of a roundabout in the future, just because there's a lot of traffic coming in and out of that existing access. So that would be something we would monitor and see if future improvements are needed. But the traffic analysis didn't recommend doing that now, just something to keep an eye on 2020, 2030, 2040 timeframe.
Okay, when I look at these plans, and I'm looking at the one exit that is planned for Leatrice Lane, it looks like it's not just right out, it's also an access point into the site. Is that correct?
That is correct. I think the intent was a three-quarter access without a median, so you're allowed to do a southbound left off of Leatrice into the C.H. Robinson site.
Okay.
And then exiting traffic is being directed to the north. So
where
in
would you
effect,
put a median then?
well, you would put a median in Leatrice Lane so that the right turners coming off the site could not take an illegal
Okay.
left.
Okay.
Without the median, they could cheat the system and
Okay.
try to go around it. But with the median, they would be forced to take a right turn.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you. Councilmember Nelson.
So you're absolutely sure that there, a big thing for me, there's a lot of kids in Hennepin Village. And school bus safety has got to be a major concern. And these are very close to each other. You say there's probably room for two buses, and I suppose the bus could go a little bit down. But are there sidewalks along Leatrice?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there is a place for kids to walk then, at least. What about all of the lights hitting the house that's directly across from this new exit? What would we be doing for them? Because that's clearly something that wasn't there when they purchased it, and it's going to be something undesirable for that home or a couple of homes.
That's something we can look at specifically and make some recommendations on that as it comes back to second reading.
Yeah, it does seem to be, especially if that was originally commercial, not residential, that wasn't taken account into the original part of it. And you're absolutely sure there's no way to put it out onto Charleston from that point, because they're going out a few feet down and then out onto Charleston. I don't see what the huge difference is than if they went a few feet the other way down and out onto Charleston. You're having them queue up the distance of about half of a yard, half a residential yard.
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Nelson, I think the issue is that by introducing another driveway on Charleston, the density of driveways and the volume of traffic and the competition for ingress and egress is going to create problems on Charleston. I think that would create more issues than it would resolve.
But it's going to go out into Leatrice, and they're immediately going to turn onto it anyway, so I don't see how that changes the volume really at all.
It won't change the volume, but everybody will be, the Leatrice people will actually be able to get out easier because they won't have a onslaught of traffic, let's say, coming from down Charleston Road going northwest that will prevent them from making a left turn. Those cars will then be on Leatrice and turning left just like they are.
And you're creating further space on a lower volume road for those movements to occur. The volumes on Charleston are much higher, so when you introduce that ingress egress in competition with all the other vehicles, I think that becomes a problem.
Okay. A couple of things that I wanted to mention. It's always hard when we're looking at a development that was planned over 10 years ago, and it's mixed use, it's got commercial, it's got office, it's got housing. And the housing is often the first thing to go in, and then it's a very difficult, painful process when the rest of the area develops as planned. This original proposal, the 2006 approved site plan with the two accesses to Leatrice, the one that is the access that is being proposed now is in the same site as one of the access points in that original 2006 plan. So that is really not a change. We just eliminated one access point. And I personally am very comfortable with passing this and allowing the proponent to go ahead with the 175 parking spaces that are going to be screened. Some of that will be screening that I assume will have to be picked up and taken away maybe when the rest of the spot develops, but it'll be good temporary screening. I think that this proposal, the 2018 proposal, is a better proposal. It only has one access to Leatrice. I would like to see the median go in so that people cannot turn left and go up the hill and go over to Plumstone. I don't think that's a problem. Personally, I went over to this neighborhood. The gentleman that lives right by there might have seen my car because I was very curious because we were getting all these letters from everybody about how awful the traffic is. So I went over there on Monday, 8:43. I got there. I spent 20 minutes there. There were 16 cars that came down the hill that were making right turns out of Leatrice onto Charleston, 9 of which, incidentally, did not even stop at the stop sign. There were 8 cars that turned left at that intersection. 2 of those did not stop at the stop sign. There was one incident of 2 cars at the intersection at the same time waiting to turn onto Charleston. So I thought, well, that's just one time of day, 8:45 to approximately 9. I'll go back today. So I went back this morning, 7:45 to about 8 o'clock. There was no school yesterday. Oh, there was school, I guess. But it was Veterans Day, so I thought that might have an impact. And it was busier today. There were 23 cars making right turns out of Leatrice. There was more traffic today, definitely. 16 of those cars had to come to a stop. 6 of them just rolled through. Left turn, everybody had to come to a complete stop because of the traffic on that road. So it was busier. I saw one child get on a school bus. I saw 3 cars stacked at the intersection for 5 seconds. And twice there were 2 cars stacked for anywhere from 2 to 10 seconds. So considering the capacity of that road, that is not like the street I live on, a little narrow residential street. That is a big road. I would say it's similar to probably Mitchell Road in terms of size and the capacity it was meant to handle. And I'm not uncomfortable. I really feel strongly that having a right out onto Leatrice with the median is a much better issue, much better for safety than allowing anybody to go from this lot directly onto Charleston. I think that you're just asking for big, big problems. So I don't know, anybody else have any comments?
I guess my only comment would be that right now is that we have, Charleston and Leatrice intersection, and I think Robert Ellis kind of alluded to the fact that, at some point, if we need more traffic control, we could put a roundabout there. What about some other kind of, signaling that is not real, obtrusive, not real expensive, but some kind of signaling to allow better flow, in the meantime, if we observe that it's a problem.
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Case, it does not meet traffic signal warrants now. You probably heard me say that before. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
My apologies.
It's going to be a long night, Robert.
To get back on topic, it doesn't meet the traffic signal warrants now. I wouldn't be surprised at some point in the future. Maybe it's starting to get close. If we have an accident problem that's starting to develop, it might warrant from that standpoint. I think a roundabout would be a more feasible option. I think the users would like that better. It has lower energy costs since you're not lighting a signal, and would probably be more efficient.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I would move to approve the first reading of the ordinance for planned unit development district review with waivers on 11.67 acres and direct staff to prepare a development agreement incorporating staff and commission recommendations and council conditions. And, I'll just comment on the motion. So my motion is done, but my comment is that we want to really make sure that we're doing everything we can to work with the developer and the proponent and the neighborhood to make sure that we're addressing safety concerns. I hear that as kind of the biggest concern out there, and obviously we all want a safe community. We want safe streets, safe neighborhoods for our kids. So work together and do what you can.
Could I add into that that one of the conditions, and I think it would have been picked up, is the median, so that there can't be a left turn there. And it was also discussed, I think, at the Planning Commission meeting and in the staff report that a traffic study could be done in the future to make sure when we get closer to the time that this proposal does go into its next phase, that we're not exceeding the capacities of the road. Okay.
If I'm going to second that, I insist on that being.
Okay, good.
Is that acceptable to your motion?
Oh, yeah, no, I assumed that was part of it as council
I just wanted to
conditions. Yeah.
Okay. You're seconding?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. I will give some time for people, I assume you want to get up and leave before we start the next public hearing, which is Smith Village.
Mayor and Council, I can start introducing the item. The applicants are proposing to develop approximately 7-acre property into a multifamily unified residential project with 3 unit types. The property is located east of Eden Prairie Road, north of Highway 212, just north of the Minnesota River Bluff LRT Regional Trail. The first part, Common Bond, is proposing a project called Trail Ridge along Eden Prairie Road. This proposed housing project is workforce housing in a 4-story building with 58 housing units. United Property on the second piece is proposing a 100-unit building, a mix of 3, 4, and 5-story building on the east side of the property, and this would be for sale homes for active and independent seniors aged 62 years and older. And then finally, Halley Land Corporation is proposing townhomes, which would include 2 3-unit townhome buildings along the regional trail. And so we have a request for a guide plan change, a preliminary plat, and a first reading of an ordinance for a planned unit development and district zoning change. I know that the proponent is here as well to provide a presentation, and then the staff and the proponent can answer any questions that the council has prior to conducting a public hearing.
Hi.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. My name is Mark Nelson. I'm with United Properties and representing kind of the development team.
Could you speak up a little so we
sure.
can hear?
Yep. Okay. I'll try to do that. Sorry. As Mr. Getchell said, we are proposing kind of a new neighborhood here at Resurrection Life Church as a redevelopment of both the church site and the vacant lot that they currently own. Am I on? Here we go. What am I doing wrong? Okay. There we go. So this site is highlighted here in red on the aerial. Just a very well located site that we are excited about because of the regional trail, access to Miller Park, and then easy access to both highways 212 and Highway 5. The site plan is the next site here, and so we are creating a new neighborhood with 164 homes, as mentioned. The cooperative is the kind of the C-shaped building to the east, and the Trail Ridge Apartments are parallel to Eden Prairie Road, and then the townhomes in the middle. And so we do really believe that we are creating a multi-generational situation here with mixed ages. We've got varied product types for sale and rental. We do have a nice broad market appeal for different homes. We're going to range from about 750 square feet or so up to over 3,200 square feet in the walkout townhomes. And we're proposing a variety of amenities and connectivity to the neighborhood. Access to this entire new neighborhood would be off of Glory Lane, which is a private road off of Eden Prairie Road, currently between Resurrection Church and Huber Funeral Home. And what I'll do is just kind of walk through a few more details of each component here that were a little more easily seen on the overhead. So this is a photo of just the kind of the tiering of the cooperative building, kind of showing you where we tier from 2, 3, and 4 stories up to the 5 stories along the industrial site. This architecture and change was due to concerns from views from the Smith Village Coffee, the Smith House, and the cooperative is sharing access to the underground garage with the townhomes here. So this building is a fully underground garage. It's a one-way system, one way in and one way out. We've got garden areas, a little water feature in front, and again, many common areas on the site. The next slide here is just a view of kind of that tiered view at the entry. So on the left-hand side then is the 2 and 3 growing up to 4 and 5 stories on the elevation. So the cooperative being 100 homes, we are proposing 10 of those homes, or 10%, will qualify for varying area median income qualifications. The homes will range from about 1,100 square feet to up over about 1,900 square feet. All of them are 2 bedrooms. Most of them will have an additional den, so being a 2-bedroom den home. And as Mr. Getchell said, it is a senior 62 and older independent cooperative. Average age is likely to be close to about 70 years old or so. The next photo is this is a rendering of that short section that is this is a view from the Smith House parking lot. We will be adding plenty of vegetation in addition to tiering the building there to kind of
So
limit.
is this existing vegetation?
No, this will be proposed. There are some trees there that we can save, but most of it will have to be new planted.
So what size trees are you planting?
Well, if we're able to put in spade dug kind of 12 to 16 foot, that's what we'll try to do. We may come back to staff and work potentially to do that on some of the parking buffer that is between our lot line and the parking lots. So there some might come onto the Smith property potentially, just because of the slopes there. Smith is actually up higher than our site, so we have to kind of deal with some grades there. But we're plenty happy to do as much screening as we're able. The next slide is just a quick shot of a potential interior shot here, so that the cooperative has a very broad range of amenities within the building as well. This is a shot of our two-story lobby, but it'll be a great room and a parlor and a club room, fitness center, library, both crafts and hobby shops, and a car wash in the garage. The next slide then, I'll kind of take down a little closer on the remaining part of the site. So this is where the 6 townhomes are and the 58 apartments. Again, access off of Glory Lane. We have combined a lot of the green area and entry features in the center here, kind of sharing a public space. We're going to have some public art and a sitting area, kind of a green rain garden area. You'll see a play area and a sport court that are adjacent to the Trail Ridge apartments, and a secondary access from that building to that area, away from the parking and connectivity both within the site and to the regional trail that is proposed. A few ideas about what those items might look like are here. So anywhere from the raised garden areas to the public art and playgrounds and activities that we will be adding across the entire site as a combined.
So those are not determined? None of that is determined yet? You just plan to maybe do something like that?
No, quite a few of these things are determined, I guess. We are planning on having an area with public art. We do have the raised gardens. We will have a playground area. Some of the activities, whether it's bocce ball or other athletic type of facilities around the cooperative, are still to be determined.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
The next slide then, there was some concern or comment, I guess, during the planning process about views from the trail, so the actual trail experience. We have about 50 feet between our property line and the actual trail that is all treed and vegetated right now, so which will not be disturbed. And then there's an additional 25 to 30 feet or so to the buildings. So this was just trying to show that the truth is that most everything you're going to see is going to be behind the existing vegetation. So we feel that the buildings will really have very little impact on the trail experience. The next slide then is this is the 4-story Trail Point Ridge building. As we said, 58 homes. 6 of those are market rate. It's a varied 1, 2, and 3 bedroom facility, and 52 of those homes then will meet varied median income requirements at 60% or less. Sizes there will range from approximately 750 square feet to a little over 1,250 square feet. And expected rents are going to be around $700 to up to $1,325 per month. Common Bond will own and manage this property. We're very pleased to have them as a partner here as part of our redevelopment. Been in business since 1971. They do a great job of supportive services, and they are currently serving thousands of residents in 3 states surrounding Minnesota here. Their site is to the south. Their site is actually helping share some of the stormwater with us overall, and also this building does have a full underground garage, again to limit the amount of asphalt and paving on the site. And then lastly but not least, the 6 townhomes, those will be market rate, kind of a custom build, probably in the $600,000-ish range. Holly Homes has been in business since the late 70s and done about 19 communities, over 200 homes, and we're very pleased to have Holly as part of our team as well. Final plans for those homes and the materials used will obviously be approved by the team and city staff. And so lastly then, so we have committed to really promoting kind of a cross-programming between the different functions here, the different uses, and really try to create a community. And we will put that in place once the buildings are in place. So that's all I had to briefly comment on. And if you have any questions of me directly,
yeah, questions for the proponent? Councilmember Nelson.
Yes, I've got a couple of questions. First, a comment. I'm very glad that you kept it to 3 stories behind the Smith Douglas Moore House. I think I had chatted with you maybe it's up to a year ago, at least 6 months ago. And having that at a little shorter height behind that, I highly approve of, and thank you. What are the costs for the Applewood units in general, say from your smallest 2-bedroom to your biggest whatever? What is the cost range?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't.
Not the ones you've already talked about, the 10 that will be more moderate income, but.
Yeah, well, so they will start at around a value of around $235,000 for the ones that are area median qualified, and they'll range up through a little over probably $500,000 in value, and then we provide kind of a 4-tier buy-in situation through the cooperative, so people can put down varied tiers of equity, and so the lowest tier would be about 20%, and then that grows 20, 40, 60, and 80, and then the remainder is that master mortgage on the property.
So the average unit might be in the 400 to 450 category?
Yeah, it's going to be, our average size is about 1,500 square feet, and it's going to be, it's going to be over, a value of over 400,000, yes, correct.
You keep saying value. Well, can you differentiate what you mean by that rather than the cost is?
Well, that is the cost, but you don't have to pay that much to be in the community. So if at $400,000, you could put down 80%, or excuse me, $80,000, 20%, and then the rest would be part of the master mortgage of the cooperative. So it allows the seniors to balance budgets, basically. So equity versus the amount of monthly payment.
But if somebody's paying 100% cash on the barrelhead, it's $550,000, you said?
Well, yes, but no one can do that. So the most you can pay is 80%. Because everyone has to participate in the cooperative mortgage.
That's true.
So so I apologize for confusing you there.
One other question. You had talked initially about the fact that it was close to the Smith Cafe, and that about possibly doing a connecting sidewalk from the property in there. Now, I don't see that on the plans. Is that still anticipated?
It is, yeah. It's probably not on my overhead plan very well, but it should. Yes, it is part of our plan to connect through our site, kind of along the Huber funeral home up into the Smith House. Yes, correct. There it is. Okay, so. There's a second, so if you can see where it's a little whiter.
There's that little white sidewalk.
Yeah, there's actually a second one that goes up the hill there. Yep, so.
Okay.
Maybe not terribly clear on this reduced size, but.
I don't have any other questions since I've learned quite a bit about their properties through a couple of your owners at your other units that have been nice enough to contact me. Evidently you do build a quality building, and I know Common Bond is very well recognized as building,
Right.
you know, excellent properties as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Aho.
Yes, I mean, I've met with the group, the development team as well, and been out to the site quite a bit looking at it, and I think it's a great product for the market, and I like that it's kind of a mixed use of the land, and you know, in terms of ages and abilities, I think to pay, I think we've got it's a nice mix. One question I had is in talking with the proprietor at Smith Coffee Shop there, or the store, they had some concerns initially about the name of the project in terms of kind of matching with the coffee shop. And so, have you had a chance to meet with Ann Schuster and talk about that, and kind of just describe to me briefly what that conversation was and how that went?
Yeah, we did. We have met several times, as a matter of fact, just on many details of the development. I guess at the crux to the conversation is, you know, from a marketing standpoint, we are not going to use the Smith name, really. You know, Applewood Point is the cooperative brand name. Trail Point Ridge will be the Common Bond marketed name, and so we kind of use Smith Village as kind of a way to identify this project, but it doesn't need to be and won't be a marketed name out in the community, right?
Okay,
right.
So I assume then that Ann Schuster is happy with that.
I think she was okay with that. But yeah.
Okay.
Right,
well, no, it sounds like a good answer. Thank you.
I have a couple of questions. There are requests for a lot of variances. Obviously, on a project like this, that's bound to happen. One of the items is a setback from Glory Lane for the Trail Point Ridge property from 25 feet to about 16 and a half feet.
Mm-hmm.
Could you address how landscaping is going to go to minimize the impact of a 4-story wall against the street there?
Well, yeah, we are going to do our best. The one overhead I had showing, that was kind of more at the corner along Eden Prairie Road versus Glory Lane directly, but you know, Glory Lane, we are reconfiguring that a little bit. You know, it's a private road that's been there for a while, so we will update both the sidewalk or the curb and add a sidewalk and whatever landscaping we can do. The essence of that setback request is really due to kind of the shared stormwater and then access to the underground garage that are providing, which is somewhat unique, and we do have members from Common Bond here if you'd rather have them address this, but it is unique for their you know, more workforce apartments to have underground parking. Typically they're all surface parking, and so part of our development process has been to try to figure out how to make that additional cost work for them.
I maybe didn't make my question clear.
Well, we will, I mean, you're asking why we have that setback.
No,
Oh,
I'm asking
sorry.
what you're going to do to mitigate it.
Oh.
The impact of a
Well,
four-story.
We'll try to
that
put
close.
as
What are you going to do with landscaping to?
yeah, well, as big of trees as we can put in there, I guess, if that's what you're asking. Yeah.
So there are trees on the landscape plan. There's so many pieces to this that it's hard to get through
I
it
sure
all.
hope so. Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
and that was another.
if they're not, we can commit to doing that. Yeah, no, there
Well,
should be.
and this
Right.
was another one of my concerns was this is going to be a big change in that area. It's going to be a big change at the Smith Douglas Moore House from having a site that is really pretty pristine and quiet once you get away from Eden Prairie Road, but it's a beautiful site, and now there's going to be a 3-story section of this building behind it. You're already there was a requirement for 973 caliper inches of landscaping You're putting in 436, so you're asking for a waiver from that request. Is there a way to intensify screening between that building and the Smith Douglas Morehouse? Could you do that?
Yes, I think we can. We did not have that exact conversation with the Schusters, but I think as city being the owner, we just have to work out where the landscaping lands. If it's technically, off our land a little bit, we're fine. We're happy to do that if it's adding more. So we're committing to that.
I'd
sure.
like to
Yep.
intensify the tree screening.
Sure.
Trees don't all survive,
Yep.
so it would help prevent some gaps in the future.
Yep.
I
That's fair.
think that's all I have for questions right now.
Okay.
Okay.
I
Thank
did
you.
think of one thing.
Yep.
It could be after the public hearing, but do you have the boards that show us the colors and the style of the facing of all three buildings?
Yes, we do have
good.
material samples here.
I
if you'd
would like
look
to
at-
see
sure.
that, though.
Yep.
Would you want it now, or do
Yeah,
you want
let's
to
do it now. Let's see.
I think it should come up now because I've heard about a concern, as we all have heard about the concern.
Sure.
Could we
Yeah,
take a look at it,
I'll
please?
ask other members of my team to do that.
And
I'll bring
which
it up.
board is for which building?
Yeah, exactly. Yep, that's great. All right.
Which building are you starting with, by the way? Okay.
That's great. Yes. And if you would look up on the monitor, once you put a piece down there, and see if you think that color on the screen is representative of what you're looking at.
You might let us actually see the pieces before you put it down, or
Yeah,
after.
that's not going to do.
Yeah, it's not very easy to
Yeah.
tell the colors and
Why
the
don't you
depth.
come up here and show them to us? Thank you. Sorry. It looks heavy.
No, I think we can do this. Here are the two stone samples.
Okay.
we're using.
And they're on the buildings, which part of the buildings?
So this is the lighter stone that you would see on the bay. This is the more main entrance of both front and back. So the accent stone.
This is for Timber Ridge.
Trail Point.
I mean Trail Point, I'm sorry.
Okay.
All right.
What about the siding colors then?
This is the bluer at the top course of
Oh,
siding.
the top is blue?
Yeah, it has
Does
it's a
blue at
slate
all
blue.
here? All right.
Looks brown. Okay.
Thank you.
Looks brown on this rendering here.
And then this is the lighter tone.
Okay.
So it's James Hardy siding.
Yes, it is. And then this is the bronze, that's the main entrance, the canopy.
Okay, but up here it's blue, right?
That is a bluer tone, yes. So
Okay.
it's-
And what about the creamy or medium brown tones?
White.
That's the white.
White, but there's a medium creamy.
That's the stone.
Oh, that's all the stone? Okay. All right. That's nicer than it looks like it's going to be.
Nicer than the picture?
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
always works that way.
Let's see here. Do you want your pieces back?
Thank you, and just in case we have more questions. Oh, do you have some more?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, these are the Apple Point
Okay.
samples,
Okay.
so very similar in quality of products. These
So
are the,
this is the one that starts darker at the bottom and
Yes.
lighter as it goes up.
correct. So this is our stone sample, cultured
Mhm.
stone, wide veneer. These are the various siding, hardy panel siding colors.
So that's white rather than cream then?
It is
And it's
a-
actually red rather?
It is called a cobblestone. You're welcome to look at it a little closer.
Okay.
The red is the vertical siding, mostly found in the gables.
Picture here.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then the brick Basically, the foundation of the building is red tone.
Okay, so there's quite a bit of red, more than it looks like in this picture here.
So it's not really the same color scheme as the brochure you sent out. That, like you did in Minnetonka, it looks like
This
much
one
more
that
grayish.
I received at home for this one.
Close. Yeah.
Is there red on that?
No. It looked like brown and beige and, huh?
The renderings don't do it justice.
So there is red on that?
So it is a redder
It is
product.
Yes, this is the product that is.
Okay, so there's really no medium brown at all. But that is what shows to be the cream parts or the mid-brown levels on it, I take it? Here you go. Yeah, it is quite different than I was expecting to see, judging by this picture here. I guess we didn't really have a picture like this or a color rendition.
I was looking, I can't find one in the
rendering
packet.
that I included in my presentation shows maybe some updated colors that reflect the actual samples that we've chosen.
Maybe we could bring those up again so we could see those in the presentation.
Okay, yeah, now that's what, but where does this red stuff go on that? Because it doesn't look red.
So that is the red hardy board vertical siding that's found in the gables.
Oh, just in those little gable
Yeah,
things.
we'll probably continue to develop that a little bit more.
Where does the brick stuff go
So
then?
you will see it is basically from the entryway that you see the covered entry.
Okay, there.
Basically the first floor to the left. And then there's a two-story section. There are accent pieces. That's all stone. The cursor is.
Which is the dark color that goes over from that brick? Was that a dark brown or a dark red or?
That is the dark gray colored hardy siding that we're referring to.
Maybe I didn't see that.
I'm not sure if my cursor shows on your.
It shows.
It does.
Yep.
So this is the cultured stone material designating the front entryway. This is the gray lap siding you're referring to.
Okay.
This is basically the top around the building is the cobblestone shake.
Did you guys see that?
And then this is the brick. There are brick accents located all around the building. Many of the bump outs.
That's the red then.
Do you have a sample of that cobblestone shake?
I think that was that white hardy board
Oh, that was
siding.
the white hardy board. So you've got like 8 colors going on here?
We have 3 primary colors.
Well, 2 different bricks. The white trim on the windows, the
Let's see.
gray, the
Let's
red,
see
the
those.
green.
So it's, okay, so that's I lost my thing. So that's, the darker stuff is the gold, medium stuff is the red then. Okay, so it is going to be a different look than this.
And then this is just a sample of the material.
Okay, I did not see that.
Unfinished.
Okay.
It's painted to match the colors that we've selected.
Okay, so technically over time you could change the colors if the cooperative wanted to update their look.
Absolutely.
All right, other questions for the proponent? Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone from the audience that wants to address the council on this? Yes, 3 to 5 minutes you've got.
Yes, I have. My name is Donald Hanson.
Well, talk to us.
Oh, okay. I'm Donald
So we can hear
Hanson, and I'm at 7936 Timberlake Drive. And I've got some handouts if anybody wants some, so if you want that. So could you bring up oh, there's the clicker. Okay. You ready? Oh, there you go. So I've titled this talk Natural Beauty. And the reason I've titled it that way is because on the vision statement for the city, that's the words they use in the vision statement for what our ancestors wanted They wanted thoughtful integration of natural beauty, is what it says out there. And so I'm really concerned about the color schemes on this, and so I don't know what the proper way to bring this up, but I want to ask for a variance on the building colors to change them around a little bit. So I'm a licensed professional engineer in Minnesota. I also, in an earlier career, was a lecturer in architecture at the Department of, in the Department of Architecture at the University of Illinois. And I taught lighting and wiring for architecture students, and I taught color science. So I have some qualifications in this area. Now I'm a neighbor, I live 500 feet away from this, and I'm concerned about the color schemes on the new buildings on Glory Lane. And so I know I've got limited time, so I'm going to focus on the common bond building. And so here I'm focusing on the bottom one, the rental apartments. And so I'm going to show you the present color schemes that I was given. So this is what they gave me for the north view as they are in present. Now I'm really, really concerned about the white, because if you're looking at this from you're down at Kowalski's and you're looking up the road, you know, a block or so, you're going to see that because your eye is naturally drawn to white, and white is, you know, the most obvious color that you can see. I'm also concerned with that the dark, I guess it's blue, around the top there, right under the roof, and that looks very dark to me, and I'll mention why that's problematic. This is the west view, and this would be the view that people would have to drive by. And so I'll talk a little bit about that, but you get a picket fence feature if you go by this white, brown, you know, as you drive by this, it's not a good way to go. And this is very much out of line with the most of the other buildings in town which do not have a color scheme like this. So let's look at the, here's the present design. You can see the white and that dark blue up at the top. This is what I would teach in my architecture classes as far as this goes. So you notice that the top of the building has been changed to a light color, and then the white has been changed to more of a brown color. Now that light color, just for a little commercial here, that light color is the color of the earth. So I went out to a construction site, I took a picture of the earth color, and there were two colors out there. One was the color of dark or wet earth, and the other was dry earth. So this is actually the color of dry earth in Eden Prairie. And it's also very close to the color of Chaska brick. Now here's the present design for the west view. And again, you can see the dark color on the top, and then you see white over there. This would be the natural beauty color scheme. So as far as what I would do in a class on architecture, I would change all that busyness in there with all those different colors. I would only use two colors basically on this building. Now, what is a natural color scheme? Natural color scheme, natural means something that is not easily seen or noticed, and it conforms with nature. So also natural color schemes are reference to sky color and complementary colors to sky color. So to keep Eden Prairie natural, like I'm used to, like I love when I go to Eden Prairie Road, it's a natural road. I really don't want to see these new buildings stand out from nature and the environment. And I'm very concerned about the use of white in these buildings, because your eye is drawn to white, and if you have a dark color next to it, all you see is the white. People want to see beautiful buildings, and I think if you follow my presentation, maybe that, but anyway, so I've got an objective test to tell whether this is a natural color scheme, and I really think that Eden Prairie needs to be using these natural color schemes. So here is the test. Now, I've got the property, and I'll go through these in a detail in a minute. The natural color scheme, I say no, 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 yes, yes. In order to get a 100% score on this, the no, no, yes, and the tested color scheme has to be the same. Now, in order for it to be a completely natural building.
1 more minute, please.
Okay, so no white. White is an attention grabber, so you want no white, no black, no primary colors. So here is the natural beauty scheme, no white, no black. Here's the present design, white, yes, black, yes. Horizontal variation, you want no horizontal variation. So how you determine this is that the sky has no horizontal variation. So in a building, what would be taught in architecture is you don't want to have the building have any horizontal variation either. So you can see the 2 arrows I put down there. And if you have a situation like this, you can see the arrow there, you've got lots of horizontal variation. And if you're driving by a building like this, you get the picket fence effect. You see color, different color, color, different color, color, different color. And white on this building, I'm sure, would attract the eye, and this would cause traffic accidents along Eden Prairie Road, I'm sure of it. Now, vertical variation is okay. And then you want to do complementary colors to the sky, and you want a simple color scheme. Simple color scheme means 1 or 2 colors, and so you want that to be yes.
Mr. Hanson, you're over time. Do you have any concluding remarks?
I've got 2 more slides. The natural color scheme, these are complementary colors to the sky. So you see I've put blue here. These 2 sections that I have here are complementary colors. This is the situation with their building. There are no complementary colors. You got white, you got that dark blue there. So to score it, I give the present design a score of 25%. You can see all those red yeses up there. And so the only 2 that match are there, shown there. So the white on this building is a big attention grabber. A natural building is not easily seen or noticed, and this will be very easily seen and noticed.
Thank you, Mr.
And so
Sir, you're way over your time.
Okay,
I'm going to have to cut you off.
The other building is 100% score, like I've shown it there.
Great. Thank you.
And, okay.
Thank you.
It's a 100-year decision, so
Thank
I hope
you.
you make the right plan.
Is there anybody else that wants to address the council on this proposal? Mr. Hanson, just for a point of discussion, Mr. Hanson and I met yesterday afternoon, and he had a much more extensive, you don't have to be up here, we had a much more extensive presentation that he gave me about what he was thinking. But what he didn't have yesterday when I met with him was a picture of that trail of the Common Bond building with the changed color scheme. And I have to admit, I was skeptical yesterday. Now that I see the change in getting rid of the white, I think it is a much more attractive building. I'm concerned about that 4-story building right on Eden Prairie Road. It's quite a change from anything that we have. Elam Shores is set way back. Applewood Point is going to be set way back. This is very close to the road. I think it is important that we do give some consideration to the visual impact of that. And I think the white, I agree, the white needs to go.
Yeah, I also sat through it, and when you see what I had the colors that it was last spring, but that had been changed, so it wasn't horizontal. Is there any room for still some discussion of, not just straight white, but the light tan or some color reconsiderations? I know it's changed once, and how hard and fast are we set with these colors?
You can certainly ask the applicant's point of view, and as you know, we have time between first and second reading.
It might be nice to, change the looks of it a little bit. Though I generally like it. I like the in and out. I like lots of the parts of it. Looks like there's nice sized windows for the apartments, and that's important. I like that it's going to be here. But I can see that the white, and I know a white house does take some effort to keep from the dirt showing all the time where a little bit more color on it doesn't. And that might be a consideration over the long time. You know, I definitely want to vote for this to go through. But, you know, there is some time between first and second reading to take a second look, maybe. It doesn't need to look just like what he had either.
Right.
Here's what I would suggest. I would suggest that, I mean, I think we all want the project to move forward, and I think it is a great project, and I think it merits moving forward. I think they've done a lot of work to get it to this point. I do think that it would be good if the proponent would meet with Mr. Hansen and talk about maybe some of the colors, or at least take his presentation and look at that and work with staff and come back with maybe some modifications. I mean, it doesn't have to be exactly what he's proposing, but at least you know, look at some of the options and see what we could do to
soften the visual impact.
Soften it. I think the white dark it does.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good to have variation. I like to have some variation in it, but maybe a little bit too harsh of a variation.
Right.
And
I agree.
And so I think it looks good the other way.
Okay. Well, if somebody would make a motion, that would be great. I want to be sure that the increased landscaping that I brought up was mentioned, and then the colors. I think that was about all that we had concerns about.
That, and it doesn't mention in the motion, but it does in the synopsis about the 10% that is included with what we've got here, because that's an important piece of that. I also love the fact that they might do some cross-study tutoring and things, which also is more in the description than actually is in the motion. But I'll move to close the public hearing and adopt a resolution amending the 2030 guide plan from industrial and church cemetery to medium-high density residential on 7.16 acres, and adopt a resolution for planned unit development concepts review on 7.16 acres, and approve the first reading of the ordinance for the planned unit development district review with waivers on 7.16 acres, and a zoning district change from public and IGen to RM-2.5 on 7.16 acres. Adopt a resolution for the preliminary plat of the 2 lots into 5 lots and 1 outlot on 7.16 acres, and direct staff to prepare the development agreement incorporating staff and commission recommendations and council conditions, also with looking at more trees between the Smith Cafe and the city property and the Applewood. And to retake a little bit of a look at some colors.
I would second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes. Thank you for coming. Noterman
Thank you for a nice development.
Yeah,
Yes,
welcome
thank
to Eden
you.
Prairie.
Yeah, a long process, but thank you. Noterman Residential Development, Mr. Getchell.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The applicant is requesting a 2030 comp plan amendment from rural to low-density residential, and a MUSA extension, and a rezoning of the property from rural to R113.5. It's a 9.5 acre property is located north of the Lions Tap in the northwest corner of the intersection of Flying Cloud Drive and Spring Road. The property is undeveloped currently and is guided low-density residential within the MUSA. The request is to re-guide and extend the MUSA from the 8.3 acres to the 9.5 acres that is part of this request. The applicant is here to provide a brief overview of the request, and staff and the applicant can answer any questions the council has prior to public hearing.
Hi.
Madam Chair, members of the council, John Shardlow with Stantec Consulting. Out of respect for the length of your agenda, I will make my comments very brief.
Thank
I know
you.
You're familiar with the issues of this, and we'd be happy to answer any questions. If I could have the first slide, please. So Bert and Bonnie Noterman, the owners, are here, as well as Jack Perry with Briggs & Morgan. So let me just start by saying that we accept and support the staff and the Planning Commission's recommendations. We will provide a detailed development plan when we seek rezoning. Further, we would propose to be proactive in proposing a planned unit development. Clearly, this is not a site that lends itself to a conventional subdivision. In fact, we think many of the lots will be custom designed and custom built in order to be able to really work with the property. So rest assured that that's what we understand, that's what we'll come back with. We'll be strategic in terms of building placement, making sure we're not blocking anybody's views and making sure that we're working well with the land. This is just showing the building envelope that's there if you meet all of the various setbacks. We think there are clearly some parts of the site that should remain undeveloped, in particular the far northeast portion with the steep slopes and the trees and so forth. And so we'll be working to find other locations to put the buildings in. So very briefly, the Notermans have owned the property since 1970s. It's always been their intention to develop it when utilities were available. They've always been in consultation with the city and understood that when utilities eventually got there, that they would be available to assist them in developing their property. The rural residential district speaks to the idea of holding the property until utilities are available so that the land can be developed with public utilities. The Notermans did petition for the extension of sanitary sewer, which was granted by the city. They have accepted assessments, which would be very expensive, to extend utilities down there. We did work very closely with the city staff to make sure that there were sleeves underneath the new parking lot to serve those lots, so they will be they won't have to have on-site drain fields. They'll be able to be developed with sanitary sewer. Yeah. So in summary, they're making a major commitment to remain in the city of Eden Prairie. We will propose a reasonable number of lots. We'll begin as soon as possible to start working closely with the staff about that. The building heights will not be visible above the slope, and we'll make sure that we'll place the units in such a way that they don't block anybody's view. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Shardlow? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone from the audience that wants to address the council? Yes.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the council. My name is Dean Edstrom. My wife and I have lived at 10133 Eden Prairie Road for the past 45 years. Our property abuts the development proposed property on the northwest and the west. But before I get into it, I'd just like to say a couple of words. Congratulations to and thank you to Brad Aho and Kathy Nelson and to Ron Case for the wonderful, dignified campaigns they ran, as the mayor suggested at the beginning of the meeting. It's a real credit to Eden Prairie to see this kind of campaign at a time when so much of politics is really not so good. And I'd also like to thank and congratulate the Mayor Tyra Lukens, and in absentia, Sherry Butcher-Wickstrom, for their service over these years. I was on the city council as a member now over 3.5 decades ago, if you can imagine that. And I know something personally about the amount of time and dedication it takes to serve on the council. I thank you for that service over the years.
My pleasure.
As I said, we're on the northwest and west side of the proposed development. And over the years, as I think you all know because I've appeared here before, I've been trying to preserve the bluff as best we can. The council itself, the city, has done a pretty good job over the years of preserving the bluff and the bluff slopes. This would be a major change. I can think of only one residence in Eden Prairie. There may be more, but I can think of only one that is actually built on the bluff slopes as it now stands. I don't know how many houses they would propose to build here, but it would be a major change in our treatment of the bluffs. The day of the Planning Commission meeting on this project, I went out on the bluff in front of our house and I looked at the Indian grass and the big blue stem and the little blue stem waving in the breeze. It was a beautiful sunny day, and the red oaks against the cedars. It was truly beautiful. I was reminded of the statement by the lady journalist from New York who came out here over 150 years ago and suggested the name of this place ought to be Eden Prairie. And that quote was right on a sign in the atrium of City Hall. I think we lose something if we develop the bluffs, and the bluff slopes particularly. And I think the council needs to consider very carefully whether, in fact, development on the bluff is appropriate. If, given the proposals tonight, not the zoning, but the MUSA and the guide plan, development plan, if they are approved, I think that will mean that, in effect, you are saying that the bluff will be developed. Because I think once you get to the rezoning, even though theoretically you might have the opportunity to retain rural zoning at that point, I think that you would be forced into allowing development on that property once you get past the guide plan issues and the music issues. So I think tonight is the time to decide whether the city wishes to preserve that aspect, that location of the bluffs, or not. And I'd suggest that if you do adopt the resolutions tonight, that you will have a very limited discretion, if any, to, in the future, when rezoning comes up, to say that no, the bluff should not be developed. So I would suggest, I would request that you vote no on the proposals, including a rewording of the guide plan, and go forward preserving the bluffs in Eden Prairie. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Edstrom. Anybody else that wants to address the council? Yes.
Madam Mayor, council members, Joel Wiegert. I am at 10131 Eden Prairie Road, which is directly north of the subject property here. I would describe the process here as death by 1,000 pinpricks. And I think we're on 999. In all intents and purposes, probably pinprick 1,000 here. The train with this vote is on the tracks. Here's my issue. I sat through an hour discussion with the previous proposal here for a resolution to the guide plan change. Very much detail about what's being asked, what they're putting on this property, down to the color. You're being asked the same thing here. I'm the neighboring property owner. I've heard 20 houses going in this. I've heard maybe it'll only be 5 or 6. I've heard, well, trust us, we'll keep the heights below the slopes. Those are pretty significant details for neighboring property owners. And you're being asked to do the same thing blindly. What's going on this property? What's the development? Doesn't the council have a right to know that before it decides and makes such a drastic change to the future of the city with respect to the guide plan? They were asking for the zoning change as well. They backed off because the city recognized, well, wait a second, don't we need to know what you're going to do with this property before we vote and decide that? How is it any different with the guide plan change? My question is, what's the rush? Why does it have to be decided now? Why can't it be decided with a development plan so we all know what we're being asked to change? That seems to me to be a reasonable approach. I can't figure out what the rush is. That's what's confusing to me. And this death by 1,000 pinpricks of transferring property, moving a parcel, rezoning a parcel, all of ultimately, I think, obviously, to develop this property, but never once with a plan. That's my concern as the neighboring landowner. I want to know what's going on here. And I think it serves, in fairness, everybody well to know what's going on here before we make such significant decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that wants to address the council on this? Yes.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, my name is Prairie Ryan. I live at 19655 Waterford Place in Excelsior. I also own the lot just west of this proposal at 10197 Eden Prairie Road. I'm in support of what they're doing here tonight. A couple of reasons. You know, when the Nordermans petitioned the city to get to hook up the sanitary sewer, I believe the intent of that approval was actually from the city to expand the Mesa line all the way down to Eden Prairie Road. And when it went to the Met Council, they did an interesting little carve out and did not expand it. And I don't think that was the intent of the city council and the approval at that time. What that did in getting that approval was it moved forward this current project that was just let here just last month, about a $4.5 million project, which was the extension of the sanitary sewer and the lift station and the forest main and all that work. And interestingly enough, of course, it put an assessment roll against all these properties, including mine, which we all supported. And so as the consultant from Stantec appropriately pointed out, the rural zoning is a holding zoning until such time that utilities are available. So to not expand the MUSA and to not at least rezone this to some fashion of single-family residential, I think it should have actually been done contemporaneously with the approval of that project, which is that $4.5 million project that was just recently let. So for that not to be done at the same time, I think is a little bit ridiculous to have all of the property owners now come in for rezoning and to come in for MUSA expansion, I think is an inappropriate use of the council's time, the planning commission's time. And so I think that should have been done contemporaneously with the entire project. So I would be in support of the project. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, is there a motion to close public hearing?
I would move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Questions? Councilmember Nelson.
I have for years have wanted sewer and water to come down into this area simply because I have worried about the provisions for, the current sanitary stuff and what it could drain into the river.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm all in favor of seeing the sewer and water finally come down. This lot, on the other hand, doing this doesn't mean that they have a development agreement at all, though. And I have some, we have worked a lot with the bluffs and every other section, and I would intend to continue that. Steep slopes, can cause building problems. I don't want to see anybody building houses that are in fact going to fall the rest of the way down. California has shown us how that works. I didn't realize there were prairie remnants there, but if there are original prairie remnants there, those probably have to be saved. This probably isn't going to come down to a whole lot of buildable lots, in truth. And I certainly don't think it's going to come into a large development at all, given the slope of the property. I don't mind going ahead with the understanding of the owners that they are not going to go into huge developments there. It's simply, at least as far as I'm concerned, we will keep the bluff, just like we've kept the other parts of the bluff. We will not build on slopes that is going to be some potential homes going down the slope. But on the other hand, there may be a few beautiful lots there too. And I do want to see sewer and water go into that whole area before we start polluting the river.
Any other questions? Yes.
Well, just maybe more of not a question, but maybe more of a comment. In terms of when we're rezoning this, it is going to have to come before the council for approval. And like we had mentioned, and I think it is an important fact that we're not approving some master development plan here that's going to necessarily put a lot of houses in that area. And I think we have full control over that. Just because we rezone it doesn't mean that we're approving a big development. Right. And I understand the concern by the residents there. I think it is very valid concern, and the protection of the bluff is very much of a concern as well. But I think if we do it right, and we will do it right, it'll be okay.
Yeah, I think we need to hand down through the years to all subsequent councils that minimal development on the bluff is all that we're willing to tolerate.
Right.
Yes.
Mayor, Council, just to clarify too, maybe I didn't cover this in the intro. It's been brought up by others. So the request to staff, what's in the packet and what the applicant stated they agreed to is it's a guide plan change. It's extending the MUSA, but it is denying the zoning. Mm-hmm. So I'm clear. So it's denial of the zoning for the 13.5 because the idea is, as was said earlier, when an actual development project comes forward, the council can consider the type of rezoning at that time because there's multiple classifications within low density residential.
Okay, is there a motion?
Yeah, let me get back to that part of the packet here. Okay. Approve the first reading of ordinance for Plan Unit Development District Review. Oh, wrong one. Here we go. Too many public hearings here. Adopt the resolution for guide plan change from rural to low-density residential on 8.34 acres and a MUSA boundary extension on 8.34 acres and amend the comprehensive plan text and adopt the resolution for rezoning request.
Is there a second?
I thought the resolution was denying the specific. So what you've got here
Yes.
denies the specific.
Yes.
Then I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. The next item is the Peterson residential development, and it's kind of the same issues and the same process. Are there any salient points that need to be made about that? Or
Yeah, I
just
think.
have the public hearing?
Yeah, Mayor, I'll just add that, I mean, the size is a little different. It's, 7.5 acres to 12.3 acres in terms of use expansion, but you're exactly right. All the other conditions are similar. And then it is the staff recommendation to adopt the guide plan change, extension of MUSA, amend the comp plan text, and then the resolution is denying the R13.5, R113.5.
Mr. Shardlow, are you the proponent for this too?
Yes, Madam Mayor, and I think I'll go even without the PowerPoint on this.
Okay.
The Petersons have no intention of selling their property at this time or any intention in the near future. We're simply looking at the planning period being 2040, and they do know that when in the future they were to develop their property, they would want to do it with municipal sanitary sewer. And so there also is a portion of their property that's currently guided park, and the city doesn't have plans to acquire it, so we're asking that to be put into private use.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Happy to answer questions.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Anyone from the audience that wants to address the council on this? Okay.
The same. I have the same concerns about the bluffs and steep slopes. It's been a long evening, but there's another word on here which is floodplain, and I do want it clear that I have no intention to vote for any building of any homes on a floodplain. That doesn't work in other places. It doesn't work here. Once again, it may have some limitations to what can be built on there, but I do think that they should know ahead of time that bluffs should be protected and no building in floodplains.
We should close the public hearing, though.
Oh, close the, okay, sorry, close the public hearing.
Madam Mayor, council members, just point of clarification and agreement. One of the reasons why we didn't come in with a development plan for the Peterson property is, first of all, because they have no intention to develop and we don't know what use they would be proposing, and because the site has so many environmental constraints. It would have taken a tremendous amount of design, time, energy, and money to be doing a hypothetical plan. So that's why we didn't do it. And likewise, on the Noterman property, given the complexity of the site, it's going to be custom designed homes and custom graded. And so to do that in a hypothetical situation just didn't make sense.
Okay, thank you.
I'll move to close the public hearing. Sorry about that.
Do you want to just continue? Do you want to just continue with the rest of it?
I think so.
Okay.
Close the public hearing and adopt the resolution to guide plan change from park open space to low-density residential on 7.57 acres, extension of the MUSA boundary on 12.3 acres, and amend the comprehensive plan text and adopt the resolution for rezoning request.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. The next item is the Southwest Transit Garage. Mr. Getchell.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The applicant here, Southwest Transit, is proposing to expand the existing parking at their transit garage on West 62nd Street near Indian Chief Road. The site includes an existing maintenance garage with warehouse and office space. There are currently 78 parking stalls on the property, and the applicant is proposing to add some stalls and reconfigure some of the existing stalls to get to 144 spaces. The plan, of which is in the packet you have before you, also provides plantings in the existing parking lot islands and some new additional landscaping as well. I see the project proponent here to maybe give a brief overview of the project, and staff and the project proponent can answer any questions you have prior to public hearing.
Mayor and council members, I'm Dave Jacobson, Chief Operations Officer of Southwest Transit. Unfortunately, Mr. Simic had to leave, our CEO, so I'm pinch hitting for him. Mr. Getchell provided an excellent general overview of what the project is. So I'm just going to turn it over to our architect, Gary Hay of Hay Dobbs, if he has some additional things to say or not. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Hi. Mayor, council members. Let's see if I can get this to work here. There we go. Again, so we're looking at expanding parking at the existing Eden Prairie garage site located at 14405 West 62nd Street, just to the east of Indian Chief Road. As you know, today Southwest Transit has two large facilities, the corporate office just down the street on Technology Drive, and the site for the Southwest Bus Garage. Soon that will change with the incoming Southwest Light Rail project, and the corporate site, which is illustrated on the left-hand side of the screen, will change and will become a new, wrong direction. A combined LRT station and bus station as well. Part of what will happen is that we looked around the area to relocate the site for the corporate offices. It was determined after quite a bit of study that the most efficient operational way to relocate staff was to move the staff to the bus garage. Consolidating staff creates a great deal of operational efficiencies on the site. And one of the things about that when we were starting to do our site analysis was that over time, the service, since the Southwest Transit moved into that building back in the mid-90s, their service has grown. They've added services like Prime, and they've added significant number of events to their service and to the regional transportation services that they support. Today, the site, it's the same site. It's just over 10 acres. There's 78 parking stalls on the site today, and we've got an impervious surface coverage, so all the parking areas and the building areas is about 47.97% of the site. Of the site, there's about 100,000 square feet of building space, which is comprised of bus storage facilities, maintenance facilities, and a very small office component. As we started to look at the need for the parking, just for the number of drivers alone, we needed 80 spaces for regular drivers. There's 13 maintenance staff on the site today. When we move the corporate office staff, there will be a total of 10 corporate staff on the site, 5 supervisors, 2 IT staff, and 5 visitor parking spaces for a total of 115. That puts us above the 78 that's there today. People find spaces, as you know, in situations wherever you can park, you park. And what it does is it creates a sort of on-site operational and some safety issues with people traversing across the site. And then you've got bus movements as well. So it's a very complicated site. And then depending on the events, we might have 25 to 72 additional drivers between the state fair or other different facilities. To accommodate the different site, what we're really looking at, or to accommodate the additional parking, we're really looking at repurposing the existing site. We're taking old loading dock space and converting that into parking spaces. We're reconfiguring the parking
on the north side of the building to make it a little more rational and increase the number of spaces. And what that will look like as we move forward is up in the north end of the site, we're basically adding a double-loaded parking stall along the edge. In the staff report, there's some varying sizes that don't quite meet the standards today. Those are existing spaces that are already on the site. All the new spaces that we're adding meet the current parking standards for sizes, drive lane widths, and so on. Today, the site does not meet the percentage of island requirements, and through this reconfiguration, we're adding more islands, and we'll be adding just over your requirement of 5% of the parking space to be islands. Along with that, significant new plantings, both in terms of trees and the variety of plant materials within those islands will be included. We're reconfiguring the lighting on the site, where the lighting today exceeds the allowable lumens at the property line. That's being changed to be within the limits of the site. So all in all, it's a simple project. The way Southwest Transit sits pretty much with Indian Chief, you could see from the other perspective, there's a lot of trees, berms around the site. The site is pretty well screened from the adjoining neighborhoods. There's golf courses to the west and to the north, and industrial properties to the south. So with that, if you have any questions, we want to thank you for your time and your consideration of this project.
Thank you. Any questions? I'm sure, Brad, you've had your questions answered.
Yes, being
Okay.
chair of Southwest Transit, we've looked at this in great detail, and it is very necessary and needed for the operations of the service. So we appreciate the consideration.
Kathy, do you have any questions?
No, it looks well thought out.
Okay. Thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone from the audience that wants to address the council on this? Okay.
Seeing none, I would close the public hearing and approve the first reading of the ordinance for planned unit development district review with waivers on 10.05 acres and direct staff to prepare a development agreement incorporating staff and commission recommendations and council conditions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Code amendment, 9F. Mr. Getchell.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, our last public hearing, the City Council, through workshops this past year, discussed zoning issues related to sexually oriented businesses and pawn shops. It led to a moratorium that the council passed this past summer to study zoning issues related to these uses. And with, we thought possibly we'd bringing both of these back for a first reading, but as discussed as recently as the workshop tonight, we have more work to do on the pawn shop piece. So maybe for the sake of time, I won't go into covering the pawn piece because we're not going to take action on that tonight, or we're not requesting that you take action. But really quickly, as it relates to the research and discussion and what we bring forward on the sexually oriented businesses is that we're proposing to limit those uses to the I-2 and I-5 zoning districts, subject to the retail space regulations of 15% of the gross floor area of a building that can be used for retail purposes. And then obviously there's some issues that we talked about again at our workshop about what we do and how we count that and how we allocate the 15% in multi-tenant buildings. The draft language in the ordinance also provides for a 1,000-foot distance requirement from adult uses, from schools, daycares, places of worship, other similar adult businesses, and then residential uses. And that's really the gist of bringing this forward, that in the city of Eden Prairie, we haven't had any distance nor zoning requirements or limitations on these uses. Even though we do not currently have them in Eden Prairie, we thought we should be proactive in matching what some other cities are doing with these requirements and moving forward with an update to our city code.
Okay. Thank you. Questions or comments, council? This is a public hearing again. Is anybody in the audience interested in addressing the council on this issue? Okay, is there a motion?
Move.
If I could
Oh, yes.
just, that this is, despite the fact that we haven't had much discussion at all about the second piece, the pond, it is a public hearing on both pieces.
Okay.
So when it comes back, there will not be another public hearing
Okay.
on the pond piece.
Okay, so I should make sure nobody in the audience wants to address us on pawn shops?
On either,
Okay.
either one.
Does anybody want to address the council on either the pawn shop and precious metal dealer issue or the sexually oriented business issue? Okay, thank you.
Okay, close the public hearing and approve first reading of the ordinance to amend City Code Sections 11.02 and 11.30 related to sexually oriented businesses, period.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Payment of claims, is there a motion for approval?
Move approval?
Second.
Any items to question? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Aho,
Aye.
Councilmember Nelson,
Aye.
Mayor Terrell-Lukens.
Aye. Finally, ordinances and resolutions. An ordinance for amending our city code related to tobacco. Thank you so much, all of you, for hanging around. Appreciate it. Mr. Getchell?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The members of the City Council had brought up in the course of the year what's known as the Tobacco 21 initiative, and that is raising the minimum age in certain cities that have done this from 18 to 21 in which person can purchase tobacco. Our police chief provided a presentation to the City Council at workshop, and members of the council asked that then a first reading of an ordinance come forward that be crafted for consideration along those lines. The chief is here to provide a quick version of that presentation. Actually, that presentation was pretty quick in the first place, but he's here to provide that overview once again. And Mayor, this is not a public hearing. We're off the public hearings, but we have talked to many people in the community about being open to taking public comment, even though we did not publish for a public hearing, nor are we required to hold one for this item, but we do know that many people have submitted commentary on this issue. And also, and the chief will mention this, that we also had communication with those retailers in Eden Prairie that sell tobacco as well, so you're going to hear about that. So if the chief can go forward, that would be the next order of business.
Great, thank you. Make it real quick. So at the last council workshop, we went over what it would look like to increase the sale age to those who are 21 or older. Why we want to look at changing the ordinance, through studies, it's predicted that raising the tobacco age to 21 will result in a 25% reduction in smoking initiation among 15 to 17-year-olds. That would equal 30,000 fewer smokers in Minnesota. Almost 95% of addicted adult smokers started smoking by the age of 21, and we believe increasing that age gap between kids and those who can legally buy tobacco will help remove access to tobacco products from the high school environment. Yeah, in 2017, Youth Tobacco and Use Minnesota rose for the first time in 17 years, and I can tell you anecdotally here, the enforcement of possession or use did increase as well here in Eden Prairie. Over 26% of Minnesota high school students have admitted to using tobacco. Nicotine in any form harms the adolescent brain, we know this. Nicotine is addictive, and adolescents are especially vulnerable to the health impacts of tobacco use. There's broad support for raising the tobacco sales age. I think you can see by the folks that are here this evening in support of this. A national survey shows that 75% of adults favor increasing the tobacco minimum sales age for tobacco to 21. Even 70% of smokers are in support of raising that minimum legal age. At your direction, I went through and we found some of the cities that surrounding Eden Prairie that have ordinance that requires the purchaser to be 21, and you can see that list here. And we know that currently there are some states in the U.S. that have made this a statewide law, and you can see the list of those states here as well.
We did meet on October 30th with some representatives from Safeway Minnesota and also retailers that came in and shared some of their concerns with what that might look like to impact their business. And, a couple examples, somebody came in and said the point of sale software that they're currently using would need to be adjusted, so when they're scanning an ID to make that sale, they would have to make those changes. And then also there was some discussion around the competitive disadvantage that these retailers may experience compared to other communities. With that, I would share with you that here in Eden Prairie, we have 23 licensed establishments. 20 of those 23, 14 are unique owners, so they have multiple stores. And then many of these stores are locations in cities that already have a 21 ordinance, all but 8 locations or 6 owners here in Eden Prairie. So they're already experienced with that in other communities that have that type of an ordinance that requires the age of 21 to purchase. And with that, I would offer up any questions you might have.
Any questions for the chief? Okay, thank you. I know that some of you want to speak. Do you have a designated speaker? Do you have several? If you can come up and give your name and probably organization you represent or address in the city.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Springer. I live in 16638 Candlewood Parkway. Mayor Lukens and council members, I'm here as both a physician and an Eden Prairie resident to support the proposed ordinance to raise tobacco age sales. I enjoy working with families and providing care for patients in all ages, children, adults, and seniors. And I especially enjoy caring for adolescents, and I want to do my part to make sure that they grow up healthy and free from addiction. We know that the most effective way to tackle ongoing burden of tobacco-related diseases in our community is to prevent kids from getting addicted to nicotine in the first place. The goal of Tobacco 21 is just that, to limit kids' access to all tobacco products, because we know that 75% of high schoolers in Minnesota get them from someone that they know. By increasing the gap between high schoolers and those who can legally purchase tobacco, we're limiting the chances that they can easily access tobacco through their friend or groups of friends. I'm also concerned with the newer pod systems of vaping devices like Juul that are especially concerning because they expose kids to even higher nicotine content than other types of e-cigarettes and deliver the nicotine without the harshness of conventional cigarettes. And they also come in candy flavors. These devices put youth at even a higher risk of developmental issues and attention deficits, while increasing the likelihood that they'll go on to become addicted to cigarettes and to other substances later in life. Tobacco is the number one drug that kids use as an entry drug to other addictions. The very devices that we're most concerned about in our high schoolers being exposed to are the products that are becoming very popular among youth. The FDA Commissioner Gottlieb has called the trend of youth e-cigarettes use an epidemic in the nation, and the Minnesota Department of Health calls youth nicotine addiction a major health concern. The inclusion of e-cigarettes and vaping devices in this Tobacco 21 ordinance would be a significant step toward reducing their use. I also want to clarify that vaping devices are categorized as a tobacco product by the FDA and are not approved as a cessation aid. There are many cessation aids out there, and I'd be happy to prescribe to anyone who wants to quit smoking. Great policy starts with municipalities and builds momentum before taking hold. And had some other things I want to mention. We've already talked about the cost. It's about, again, if you figure about $593 per adult and child in Minnesota is the cost, economic burden of tobacco use. And that comes out to about $3.19 billion in excess healthcare costs. We could, build 200 libraries or fund 80,000 jobs that pay $40,000 a year. So I applaud your leadership in tobacco prevention here in the state. Freedom to Breathe, which brought clean air to us in institutions, again, started in municipalities as this has, and takes a while to take hold at the state capitol. I'll be there too when it does, but I'll hope to stand up for our kids and their health to take the next step in the movement. I'll be, if there's any questions we have.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you. In the back, you wanted to speak? If you could keep your comments to 3 to 5 minutes, that would be great. Okay, thanks.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I'm Chris Paulson. I live at 9876 Balmoral Lane in Eden Prairie. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you about this issue that I'm extremely passionate about, making Eden Prairie a healthier community that supports our children and young people. I'm a longtime resident of Eden Prairie. I'm grateful for the opportunities this community has afforded my children. My 2 daughters graduated from Eden Prairie High School, and today I'm the proud grandmother of 3 beautiful grandchildren. While our community might not agree on everything, we can come together to make sure that every child has the opportunity to grow up and pursue their dreams like mine have. As someone who spent my career teaching elementary school in Eden Prairie schools, I understand that children need the support of our whole community. One of the frightening obstacles that our children and families must overcome is tobacco addiction. The tobacco industry heavily targets our children, trying to hook the next generation of customers. One of the tobacco industry's latest trick is e-cigarettes devices like Juul, which allow our kids to vape high levels of flavored nicotine, all without parents and teachers noticing. It's a shameful tactic to addict the next generation of tobacco customers. I recently traveled to Italy, and the constant secondhand smoke exposure was a good reminder how far we've come here in Minnesota. Together, we've reduced smoking and made sure everyone can breathe clean air at work, at home, and in our communities. We can't take our progress for granted. Just like in the clean indoor air movement, Eden Prairie can step up and lead the way to further protect our health by raising the tobacco purchase age to 21. Tobacco 21 is extremely popular and is gaining momentum here in Minnesota and across the nation. 75% of adult Americans, including 70% of current smokers, favor increasing the tobacco age to 21. That's one reason why 6 states and more than a dozen Minnesota cities, including many of our neighboring cities and towns, have passed tobacco 21. It took local leadership and bold policies to get this far in creating a healthy state. Let's take the next step. Let's pass tobacco 21 and make Eden Prairie a leader in caring about our kids, their health, and their future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak? Yes.
Madam Mayor, Chief, council members, staff. Good evening. My name is Lyle Jensen. I've been a resident of Eden Prairie for over 35 years. In fact, my wife Pamela and I built our first house in Eden Prairie about a mile as the crow flies, right across in the new development. We both worked for CPT, a word processing systems manufacturer that built this very complex. And my office as head of advertising and merchandising was about 100 meters on the mezzanine as that would point that direction. Eden Prairie is the community where we raised our 2 girls, where we continue to raise our grandchildren. It's with a watchful eye for the future I wholeheartedly support Eden Prairie's efforts to raise the legal tobacco age to 21. Like any grandparent, I have concern for what's in store down the road for my grandkids, Paisley and Logan, and will do almost anything to ensure they grow up healthy and happy and have the opportunity to become productive members of their local communities. I harbored the same concern when my daughters Laura and Sarah were little. What was true then is still true today. Kids should grow up free from the harmful effects of tobacco. Raising the tobacco age to 21 will greatly impact the culture our children live in by mitigating their exposure to and curtailing, if not totally preventing, their use of cigarettes and other tobacco products.
Recently, I read how the tobacco industry is continuously working to entice America's children to try their ruinous wares. It's deplorable how tobacco companies have begun to introduce products that look like harmless everyday items, everything from a USB drive to a delicious candy treat, all in a targeted effort to insidiously hook our kids at a very early age. Becoming addicted to tobacco, suffering the inevitable health consequences, and dying a premature death helps no one except the tobacco industry. When I met my wife in 1976, she was a 2-pack-a-day smoker of Marlboro Reds in the crush-proof box. She started casually smoking at 16 when she was a college freshman. And by the time she finished her graduate work at Luther Theological Seminary in St. Paul at 22, she was inexorably hooked. She tried to quit any number of times before and after we got married, but carrying our first daughter as an expected mother held the most compelling reason to actually do it. I'm happy to say Pamela has been tobacco-free for almost 35 years now. I'm proud to live in Eden Prairie, a community that has the decency and social awareness and conscience to consider life-saving policies like increasing the tobacco age to 21. The Tobacco 21 ordinance will help prevent my grandkids, your children, and other kids in our community from getting hooked on or even trying tobacco, and that is a goal I believe we can all support. I also believe a community cannot build a sound moral compass without a forthright, responsive local government and an active, supportive citizenry. Thank you for your consideration of the Tobacco 21 ordinance.
Thank you. One other speaker back there?
Good evening, Mayor Tyra Lukens and the council members. My name is Allie Kronk, and I live at 7354 Howard Lane. My husband and I recently moved to Eden Prairie. We love it here. I am a retired school teacher, a mom to 4 grown children, grandmother to 3 and counting. They also live in Eden Prairie. Before moving to Eden Prairie, we lived in Minnetonka, and I worked in the Minnetonka School District for most of my career. You may know that Minnetonka recently passed a policy increasing the age to tobacco to age 21. 15 Minnesota cities and now tonight Brooklyn Center have now passed Tobacco 21 policies, and I hope that Eden Prairie will join them in passing this life-saving policy. We know that children's brains are still developing throughout their teenage years and even into their early 20s. Nicotine is a powerful drug no matter how it's ingested, and it can send our kids on a path towards lifetime addiction. In fact, the Minnesota Department of Health recently launched a new effort to work with schools, teachers, and administrators to address the major increase in e-cigarette use. We can support these efforts by passing this local policy. Teenagers have so many things on their plates these days, and they don't need another obstacle like nicotine addiction. Let's get tobacco products, including e-cigarettes, out of the hands of our middle and high schoolers and help our students thrive. I've dedicated my life to preparing our kids for success in the classroom and beyond, and I'm not ready to sit back and watch them become the next stream of tobacco users. As we've heard, nearly 95% of adult smokers started before the age of 21. Let's work together to keep tobacco products away from young people before addiction sets in. Let's stand with our kids today by passing Tobacco 21. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rosso, I have a question for you. This proposed ordinance does not have a proposed effective date. And I know that there was some discussion with retailers about their ability to quickly change over their computer system. So is there a proposed start date for this?
We had discussed having a February 1 start date, and at section 3, it states this ordinance shall become effective February 1, 2019. So at the very end.
Okay. I was looking in this, and it wasn't here. Okay, thank you.
This does include e-cigs as well, right?
Yeah, any tobacco product. Yes. All right, thank you.
Hello, good evening. My name is Kate Bright. I live at 15801 North Hillcrest Court. My husband and I and our 2 children are proud Eden Prairie residents. My son is 6, and he's a new kindergartner in Eden Prairie schools, and my daughter's almost 3. As a young family looking to put down roots, we chose to move here, and we love living here. We are glad to make our home in a place that values our kids, our health, and the outdoors. We want our children and all the children in this community to grow up free from addiction. Both of my parents smoked. My dad quit before I was born, and my mom stopped smoking when I was about the same age as my son. And even as a young child, I knew how difficult it was for her to quit. Like most former smokers, they regret it, and they would implore young people to never start in the first place. Thankfully, they're still around today to make memories with our kids, and I know many families are not so lucky. Both my husband and I have lost family members way too soon due to smoking-related disease. Despite tremendous progress, smoking is still the top cause of preventable death in Minnesota. In fact, smoking kills over half of its users. Another thing that upsets me is all of the new flavored products that are accessible. It's clear that they're targeting kids with watermelon flavored cigars, cherry chew. My kids have not been exposed to e-cigarettes. They're still quite young. But the stories that I hear from other parents in our neighborhood is very concerning to me. I've heard that e-cigs don't carry the same health risks as cigarettes, but I don't want my kids or any kids using any type of addictive nicotine product. As parents, we'll do our best to protect our children from threats like addiction, but this is a team effort. We can't be there every hour of every day to shield our kids from big tobacco. We need to work together as parents, teachers, elected officials, and community members to ensure our kids grow healthy and can pursue their dreams. A major study by the Institute of Medicine found that Tobacco 21 would reduce smoking initiation among 15 to 17-year-olds by an estimated 25%. And let's improve our kids' chances at a healthy life by passing Tobacco 21. My husband and I enthusiastically support the policy, and I hope I can count on you too.
Thank you. You guys have all been so wonderful to stay this late at night, but we're approaching 10 o'clock. We kind of have gotten the gist of what your concerns are and your issues, and we know there are a lot of you that would wave your hands enthusiastically that you support this kind of an ordinance. And we could continue with hearing what you have to say, but we're kind of hearing the same message. So given that it's almost 10 o'clock, if it's okay, I'd like to kind of cut this off. We've gotten a lot of emails from all of you. We've gotten emails from the American Lung Association, the Minnesota chapter of the American Society, or the American Association of Pediatrics, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Alliant Health, Clearway, Minnesota, the American Cancer Society, numerous physicians who are residents of our community, the Minnesota Department of Public Health, I think I mentioned that. Jan Malcolm sent a letter today, the commissioner. Is there anything new that anybody has to add? If you have something new to add, I'd love to hear it. Okay.
I'm going to give it.
That's fine. Anybody that wants to talk that came and waited and really wants to talk, fine. That's okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Ruth Bachman, and I live at 6761 Beach Road in Eden Prairie. And I am a cancer survivor. I lost my dominant left hand to soft tissue sarcoma 15 years ago. I lost my sister to malignant melanoma 27 years ago, and my brother is an 8-year prostate cancer survivor. And while my family has not been directly affected by a cancer death related to smoking and tobacco use, these 3 experiences have brought me a very personal relationship and awareness of the burden that cancer brings to life. In an effort to give back for my survival, I have volunteered extensively in the cancer world. as a member of the Community Impact Board of the Masonic Cancer Center at the University of Minnesota and the Steering Committee of the Minnesota Cancer Alliance. In those roles, I have learned a thing or two about the significant impact that smoking has on the incidence of and mortality from smoking. There are 16 cancers that are linked with tobacco use, and I've often heard renowned researchers from the University of Minnesota say that all cancer incidence would be reduced by 30% if we would stop smoking, eat well, be active, and take advantage of early screening. Of all cancers, and there are over 200 types of cancer, lung cancer is the deadliest. The Minnesota Cancer Alliance is a broad partnership of organizations and leaders from across Minnesota, and we represent public health and healthcare organizations, cancer centers, culturally diverse organizations, researchers, nonprofit organizations, cancer survivors, caregivers, and advocates, and we are all dedicated to reducing the burden of cancer across the continuum from prevention to detection to treatment and survivorship. One of the 19 objectives in Minnesota's Cancer Plan 2025 is to reduce the use of commercial tobacco and nicotine delivery devices. The Cancer Plan identifies raising the tobacco sales age to 21 as a strategy to accomplish that goal. And you've already heard that 95% of adult smokers started before the age of 21. So raising the tobacco sales age will reduce teens' ability to buy tobacco products themselves and to access it through social sources. And I urge you to support this ordinance because it will help prevent youth from using tobacco, and it may very well save lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, discussion. Councilmember Nelson.
I feel this is very important. I plan to vote yes.
Great. Do you want to make a motion?
I would like to make some comments first.
Sure. Do you want to make them after the motion?
All right, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, I'll move to approve the first reading of an ordinance amending City Code Chapter 5, Section 5.35 relating to tobacco.
I'll second it. Comments, Mr. Aho.
So I have a number of comments. First of all, I am a parent of 3 kids and 2 grandchildren. I am a cancer survivor. I have never, ever smoked in my life, and I think it is a horrible thing for people to get addicted to cigarettes. I think it is has many, many deleterious effects, and I very much oppose it. I am concerned about a couple of things. One is that we treat people as adults when they become 18. We allow them to vote. We allow them to serve in our military. And I think we are taking away some basic rights when we do this, when we raise the age to 21. So I have a little bit of a concern about that. The other thing I really concern about is that it is I think this is really a statewide issue. I think the state should do this, and then if the state does it, it makes it really much more difficult for people under 21 to get access to cigarettes. Because I think if you do it as a city, what's going to happen is kids that are 18, well, not kids, adults that are 18 to 21 are going to drive to the next neighboring city. They're going to buy their gas there because they can buy tobacco products when they buy their gas. They'll go to grocery stores or other shops that sell tobacco products, and they'll shop there. And so I think it will have an effect on our retailers in Eden Prairie unfairly by weighting them with this additional regulation. I would like to see it passed as a statewide regulation, and that way it levels the playing field. It makes it much more difficult for young people to access cigarettes and tobacco products, and I think that's really where it needs to happen. And I think we have a new legislature that was just elected. I think that we should give them the opportunity to pass it at a statewide level and not do it at a city level, because I think we're making Eden Prairie an island. And while I, very much agree that there's health risks, I don't like doing it as a city. I would like to see it happen at a state level. If it does happen at the city level, what I think we should do is make it effective in the summer in July, because that gives the state legislature the opportunity to pass it at a statewide level and make it happen statewide as opposed to just as a city level. Okay. And I think that would be more appropriate.
Okay. I don't think there's anybody in a green shirt out there that doesn't agree with you that they would like to see this passed statewide. Unfortunately, we haven't really had the leadership in St. Paul that has been willing to take on this issue. And I really don't think that the first city in Minnesota that passed Tobacco 21 passed it thinking it would make a significant impact at that moment in time on their youth. They passed it because they wanted to be the first ones to get a ball rolling towards conquering a really bad public health problem. And the only way you can do that is develop momentum at the city level. We've seen that with the other regulations around tobacco. It took cities getting involved and getting the ball rolling before the state government had the guts to take it on. And I think it's really important that we make a statement here. We're a very educated community. We know that tobacco is bad. We're adults here. We have a responsibility to protect our youth. That is the role of parents. That's the role of the community, is to protect youth. And this is one strong way that we can do it. And I'm 100% in favor of this. I wish we had done it sooner. Councilmember Nelson.
Yes, I too would like to see the state pass it. I do think it's a bit more fair. But communities all around us are passing it, so I don't see us as an island. We might be an island by not passing it.
Yeah.
And it is something we can do. I have no doubt that at some point the state legislature probably will do this. But it's time to stop it here. It doesn't mean kids won't get cigarettes from their parents in some cases or whatever. But it is hard enough to stop. I didn't start until I was 19 at the university. I too smoked those Marlboros. I managed to stop by the time I was 24, which has given me 40-some years since it, which I'm quite thankful for, that I had enough sense to stop. But it wasn't easy. And you do some pretty stupid things sometimes as you're younger. This isn't going to stop all that, quite frankly. It's not going to stop kids smoking who are already addicted. They're going to find it. But it may stop other people not. I hope we can also talk to our legislators to have them consider bringing it to the state level as well. I don't think as a council we can say they have to or anything, but I personally will talk to mine. And I think it's time for us to do this.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Oh,
can I just make one last comment? I would just say, if we change it to the adoption date to July of 2019, I would support it.
I'd like to do it as soon as possible, personally.
I think so too, and let them follow behind us.
Yeah, I don't want to be any more of a laggard than we have been on this issue. So we have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes. Thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you. We have a number of other items on the list here that kind of fall into the category of housekeeping. Mr. Getchell?
Mayor, you are exactly correct. We should move through these really, really quickly. Maybe I do want to mention a couple things. Item C, I think we are not taking action on now because that kind of follows with the other issues related to pawn and precious metals. I'll do the overview of all these right now, and then you can vote on all these. Item B, that one is maybe a little bit more housekeeping because we've had requests of liquor licensees who want to be able to sell liquor maybe in and around their building. So if there would be an event, and I'll use the example because this is what's been happening and what spurred this a little bit, at the Flying Dutchman Distillery, where they might have an anniversary event and they want to have a tent or some activity out in their parking lot, still contiguous to their building and their operation with their staff. We want to be able to update the city code for those special events, and they would be able to get a license to do that. That's item B. Item C, we're not acting on. Item D is related to our peddlers ordinance, and that really is updating procedures of administrative procedures, along with updating definitions on the grounds in which a permit would be suspended or revoked. E is related to the adult-oriented businesses, and again, is administrative in nature and deals with updating definitions. F is related to our current massage ordinance, also updating provisions of administrative procedure and also updating the grounds on which a license can be denied, suspended, or revoked. So all the language of all these ordinances are in the packet. Even the annotated agenda, you can see, goes on for about 7 or 8 pages with the definitions. But as you said, Mayor, they are housekeeping items, and you can ask the city attorney or I questions about any of those as you move through.
Okay, so we're excluding C at this point.
We are.
Any questions about any of those ordinances?
No.
Okay, can we go ahead and approve them one by one, or do you want us to do B and then listen to C?
I think you should approve them one by one.
Okay.
Just make a motion for each.
Okay. Is there a motion for
I would,
B?
for B, I would move to approve the first reading of an ordinance amending City Code Chapter 4 by amending Section 4.07 relating to the amendment of a licensed liquor premises.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item C.
No, we're not doing C.
No, but isn't Mr.
Just move to
Chief
D.
Weber?
We're moving to D.
You just want to move to D, okay.
Yep, D.
For number D, I'll move to approve the first reading of an ordinance amending City Code Chapter 5, Section 5.37 relating to peddlers.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item E.
Move to approve the first reading of an ordinance amending City Code Chapter 5 by inserting a new section, 5.77, relating to sexually oriented businesses and amending City Code Sections 5.01 and 1.02 relating to definitions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Move to Section F, move to approve the first reading of an ordinance amending City Code Chapter 5, Section 5.46 relating to regulation of therapeutic massage enterprises and massage therapists.
Second.
Any items to question? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, so C we will be doing next council meeting? Or
Whenever they're ready.
A future council
future
meeting,
date.
yes.
Okay.
I mean, it is possible that it's at the December meeting.
Just depends on when things get finished.
Right.
Okay. All right, anything else? Any reports? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.